some of the hottest cars New York has ever seen. From dropping some of the hottest verses rappers ever heard. From the dope spot with the smoke, fleeing the murder scene, you know me well. From nightmares of a lonely cell, my only hell. But since when y'all brothers know me to fail? Heck no, we're all my brothers with the rubber grips for shots. And if you with me, mama, rub on your tits and whatnot. I'm from the school of the hard knocks. You must not let outsiders violate our box in my pot. Let's stick up the world and split it 50-50, Let's take the dough and stay real checky, And sip the Chris and get pissy, flowing beneathly like the memory of my brother Biggie, baby. You know it's hell when I come through. The life and times of Sean Carter, brother, volume 2. Y'all brothers get ready. It's the hard knock life for us. It's the hard knock life for us. Instead of treated, we get tricked. Instead of kisses, we get kicked. It's the hard knock life. It's the hard knock life for us. It's the hard knock life for us. Instead of treated, we get tricked. Instead of kisses, we get kicked. It's the hard knock life.
The greatness comes not when things go always good for you, but the greatness comes and you're really tested when you take some knocks, some disappointments, when sadness comes. Because only if you've been in the deepest valley can you ever know how magnificent it is to be on the highest mountain.
All right. Great to see you guys. I've been gone for about a week and, had a lot of real life circumstances that sidetracked me from doing shows, recordings, the gist. But if anything, finally, I am looking to be back with you guys on a regular basis, putting out content, whether it's doing live or recorded and so on. This is a special treat for you guys. I've been working on this for quite a while. And it's the concept, of course, of the Finternet. You may not realize what these terms mean. It's been a while since I did some BSV coverage. So there will be a segment where you'll also see BSV and Quant mentioned in the same breath. Now that sounds nuts. We'll also talk about where XDC plays a role, where XRP plays a role, but we'll talk about all of it and bring it all to you guys on the show, DYOR with Max, yours truly, and of course our great community. Smash that like if you haven't done so already. Also consider sticking to the end of the outline if you choose to do so. There will be chapters later on, and of course, you know the drill. This will be cut up, diced up, and so on. So we're going to start off with the first comment of the day. It comes from HTTR all day. Get them likes up for the GOAT, Mr. Mad Max. Don't consider myself the GOAT, but I do appreciate the nice compliment. That was very kind of you. And on top of that, we got the one and only Selmo Fudd in the house. Good to see you, brother Selmo. We also have the one and only Marvin L. Passmore Jr. He says, hello. Is it Marvin we're looking for? Lionel Richie. That's an old thing we used to say, right? Good to see you guys. Dennis Leal's in the house. He knows all about the Finternet, so I'm glad to see you here, Mr. Francisco. Jack Thompson in the house. Shalom right back to you, brother. Trish is back. Says, hey, Max, everybody. Some young guy. Just discovered ChatGPT cuts research time by 90%. Okay, awesome. Glad that you're getting into some of that. Dietary Car, welcome. BSV to the Blankety Bank Moon. Yes, absolutely. Glad to have you. Guys, always welcome newcomers if you haven't seen them before. Lord of the Realm is in the house. Welcome back. Yeah, I am feeling a lot better. Been dealing with a lot of, dust and just all sorts of stuff. I have one of my dad's old best friends is, he needed a place and if anything, got a new roommate now, which is fine, but he's a good man and glad to help him. All right, so let's see here. Black and white. Thank you, thank you. All right, we're gonna get further into the comments. Welcome, just a few more, you guys. Stump Rider, glad to have you back, sir. And yeah, a lot of news about that. We're gonna be focusing more on the tech. You guys can obviously, get other great researchers, content creators that cover that. Shout out to Gavin Mail. He's doing an excellent job in regards to covering the whole thing with Craig Wright. Obviously, Sartoshi's doing an awesome job with that, and so on. You'll see where I'm coming from this particular research and so on. But glad that you guys, support those brothers. They deserve it. All right, Greg Ballou is in the house. Hey, man, I don't think I've ever seen you on a live, so that's cool. Good to see you, Greg. Nice actually meeting you, all right? All right, let's see here. Mike Moss, what up? What's the best cold wallet? XRP, XDC? I got to go with, of course, the one I promote here, which is the Decent Wallet. It's in the description. You guys can actually get a discount, and it's actually slashed more than it originally was. I haven't put out a proper, I guess you could say, advertisement commercial, but there's actually more of a discount now than there actually was before. So there was already discounted, but you don't have to make a custom folder, and I do like it. Obviously, for BSV, Decent Wallet doesn't support that. If you're wanting to go with something like that, I would recommend something like, for example, for hot, you're going to go with Exodus. If you're going to go with what is it, Trezor, right? So there's multiple wallets, but for that specifically, I would use Decent Wallet. It's what I use. All right, yeah, it's exploding. It's doing a lot of good stuff. So we're just gonna read a few more comments, and we're gonna get right into the content, what you guys have been waiting for. So I appreciate you guys. Umar Khan, hopefully I pronounced that right. Yeah, right back at you, man. Thank you. And we got Nerdy X in the house from X. Glad to see you, Nerdy. Boom. Max, sir, Merry Christmas. Yeah, Merry early Christmas to all you guys. And that's a good question, especially when it comes to like QNT and whatnot. Yeah, I know where you're going with that. That's a very good question. I don't have those answers yet. We'll definitely be looking to cover that. There'll be another project I'll be looking to cover here, a little bit later. It's a analytical program, Stats Pro, but I gotta get more in the weeds in that, but trying to catch up on some things. But nonetheless, glad to have you guys. Paul's in the house. Paul Sagbacken, if I'm pronouncing that right. Sorry if I'm not. Delip, thank you. Appreciate you guys. You guys rock. All right. Just welcome a few more of you guys. Yo-Yo from New Zealand. Thank you to the moon. Could you look at Gary Network once, buddy? Possibly, if we have some time a little bit later in the show. River's in the house. Hey, good to see you. And let's see here. I want to know... Hold on. I know you want to make video games. Absolutely. That's the end goal. Always has been. If the money makes it and go to the moon, what kind of video game we like to create? Yeah, it's one of them is mainly that. It's basically a lot of like the original Medal of Honor Allied Assault meets like the first Call of Duties, like Call of Duty 1, Call of Duty 2, that kind of look and feel. And it would be a free to play but not play to win shooter, and the other one would be a turn-based strategy game. 3D turn-based strategy game. My all-time favorite game is Hogs of War. You're welcome to look that up if you're wanting to do that. All right. Yeah, thank you very much. Let's get the super chat from Paul. Wow, you rock. I don't even know what, particular area of the world that is. SEK, 27 bucks or, dollars or whatever it is. I apologize, not dollars. But nonetheless, I am so grateful and humbled for your donation, sir. I really appreciate that. Best wallet for XDC, XLM. Yeah, I would agree. I would totally agree. All right, just a few more of you guys. Welcome you guys from Canada. Antonius Pius, lunch break right now in Australia. Awesome. And MC, glad you caught live. Awesome. You guys got a treat. Just sit back, relax. Welcome your fellow brothers, sisters of this community. And yeah, you're gonna find out more about that. I feel as though it's very, 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 very much on sale. All right. So what we're gonna do now is allow me to, let me clear my throat, right? Please smash the like. It does trigger the algorithm, gets the program out. We have 88 on X, 72 on the YouTube. So grand total is 161. I won't keep you guys any further because we're at the 10-minute mark. But nonetheless, there's some key things that we're going to get into. And basically, it's like this, okay? again, consider sticking to the end of this particular outline. Things will be chopped up. And again, please smash the like if you haven't done so already. So we're going to talk about this concept of the Finternet. So in my own gathered research, I got more into the weeds about this. Of all people, shout out to Quant Papa, who actually helped me out with some of this research, and then I decided to expand more upon it. So where I'm going with this is something that, I'll be honest, I don't think most of you guys are aware of. We're going to tie in some key things. So first part of the outline is to introduce the concept of the Finternet with you. So believe it or not, this is actually a BSV/XDC/Q&T outline, okay? And then later on into the show, we're going to get into some other updates, which is another segment. But for this key area, it's going to be the concept of the Finternet. First thing we're going to do is start off with the one and only Augustine Karstens of the Bank for International Settlements. Now, before I get more into this, a disclaimer, okay? I get it. A lot of you guys are just BSV only, and that's fine. For me, I'm an investor. I like to be diversified into multiple projects. If that's you, awesome. If it's not, you're just, BSV maxi. Hey, there's no harm, no foul. I get it. But before we get into the material, there is a narrative. Let's be honest about this. A lot of people feel as though that, as the saying goes, Bitcoin is freedom. We are talking about BSV. And, some people feel as though that's the real McCoy. A lot of people also feel as though that since Bitcoin is true freedom, BSV is also, of course, true freedom. And that, with that said, they would never get involved with the central banks. Now, hear me out. This is not me saying it. This is me showing you actual research to show you a different narrative, if you want to call it that, in regards to their pitch to the BIS. Yes, they're pitching to the BIS. And why that matters. Why it matters is the concept of the Finternet. Let's jump into that. Here it is, straight from this particular clip from YouTube. Now, I'm not going to play the whole thing. This actually dates back, to about 6 months ago. Some of you guys are aware of it. Some of you guys have seen this particular clip. But I'm going to elaborate further from this. I guarantee you there's going to be some research you haven't seen or heard yet. Business Podcast, Finternet, the financial system for the future. Does BSV have a role in it? Do they currently have a role in it? Well, for me, currently speaking, the answer is no. But again, that pitch, what kind of value would that be? Why would they want to get involved with a centralized system if they are quote-unquote freedom? Well, is it a case of if you can't beat them, join them? Not necessarily, but hear all different perspectives. Have a open ear, open mind to some of this. So I'm going to go ahead and fully expand this. We're going to play this particular clip, tie in everything in. Again, I'm glad to be back with you guys. Here we go.
I think you have to be imaginative and let your mind sort of fly. And all of this inspired, for example, by the history of the iPhone. We started with pagers, for example, where you just could exchange messages. Eventually, we had the apps. But at the end of the day, the iPhone, what it does is they bring all of these services together. So if we had each one individual services apart, we would not benefit of the whole, and the whole really makes a big difference.
The technology must be available to all. Many of you are carrying a smartphone in your pockets today. Many of you are regulators and policymakers in the room. As financial regulators, one doesn't regulate the smartphone itself. You regulate activities on top of it. If someone creates an application that starts taking deposits, one would get involved.
Okay. So you guys are all welcome to check out that full video. And again, if you're wanting to watch that, it's basically called Business Podcast and then -Finternet. And of course, you'll see that come up. Or just subscribe, of course, to the Bank for International Settlements. Some of you guys do that, some of you guys don't. The next area I want to get into is elaborating a little bit further from the whole intro. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this up on your screen as well. And again, some of this stuff is somewhat recent, some of it's not, but anyhow, it's really all gonna make sense. So first thing I'm gonna do now is expand upon the research. You're gonna see this article. It comes from project-syndicate.org, the rise of the Finternet. Now I'll just jump down to the key area of highlight, of emphasis. So it says here, basically, To this end, we have drawn on our joint expertise in economics and technology to offer a blueprint for the future financial architecture. Now, I want you to, again, understand why sometimes I read this verbatim. Look what it says in the highlight on red. What we call the, quote, Finternet is a vision of multiple financial ecosystems that connect with one another, much like the internet, in order to give individuals and businesses full control over their financial lives. We foresee a world in which people and companies can cause any device to transfer financial asset. Now, before I read the rest, any device, okay? So when Augustine Carstens, everybody, was talking about, the concept of like what you can do offline, and we saw this call to action, especially with Quant, let's just be honest about some of this, and the RLN and even the RSN, the Regulated Settlement Network. It's how do we give access to the unbanked? Obviously, Stellar puts a lot of focus on this. You could say Ripple, does this, but BSV definitely has a role in regards to this as well. And I understand that BSV doesn't have those partnerships with the central bank. Maybe as of yet, maybe they'll get there. A lot of people feel as though that the price that you see suppressed is so much more than what's going on with the Craig Wright situation. And I'm not going to do a deep dive about that. Again, there's great content creators that do an excellent job about that, like, Gavin Mail, Satoshi, and so on. But for the purposes of this, when we talk about that, there's a clear common thing in regards to common ground about, the unbanked and the technologies moving forward. Who plays a role in that? Does BSV really play a role in that? Well, again, we're going to get further into the weeds about this. So this next part about anyone in the world, in that transactions would be cheap, secure, near instantaneous, and available to all. All right. That's the bottom line in regards to all of this. Okay. So again, Project Syndicate put this out many months ago. And if anything, I'll give you some things that are a little bit more, recent. Okay. So enter into this. And I definitely think this is also worth pointing out. So I'm going to get into this. And, what do you see here? This is from Finternet Lab. Okay. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you on page 30 is because, again, this PDF about the Finternet, the vision for the future, of course, financial system. A lot of you guys that are your hardcore BSV people, you feel as though that BSV is going to be, the single ledger system. It's going to be all run through BSV and so on. And I get that. But again, some of these concepts. So how long ago was this one? Well, this was from August. This is from Nadan Nolakani. And, sometimes when people see even the logos, that looks, similar to, like, for example, Flare. I'm not going to get into the weeds about that. But financial innovation, and of course, inclusion. When we talk about, for example, key things like, BSV, well, one thing that stands out is their tech. And, obviously things like Terranode. So has this truly progressed around the world? Well, we see so many citations, whether it's a unified payments interface, UPI, things like Stripe, Visa, MasterCard. But we know, for example, that there's going to be a big shift, especially when it comes to SWIFT, when it comes to mandates. The whole thing with ISO 222. And if anything, MasterCard especially, right? You saw recent partnerships with Stellar. You saw the whole thing of, Quant, Hedera, for example. I should include that as part of the show. But nonetheless, all of these play a key factor in regards to all this. Now, jumping into page 30 of this particular Finternet GFF deck.pdf, you're going to see the whole concept of an open source sandbox to demonstrate diverse use cases. Why is this important? Well, it has to be appealing to developers. But when you get into the weeds about this, financial institutions can manage tokens. So, from the BSV side of these things, it's like, well, we don't want that. And I get that. But again, why are they making a pitch to the whole thing of the BIS? And then you may think, like, nah, they never did that. Trust me, I'll show you that they did. And again, I'm not trying to make this controversial. I'm just trying to show you some things to open your eyes to a different perspective that maybe you don't know about or, basically aware of. Public Authorities can participate as observers. Again, when we talk about the whole thing of regulatory clarity, what do we really have? All right, so getting more into the right side, I'm going to put some emphasis on a Finternet sandbox. Why, again, get into the weeds about this? Well, understand that Finternet aims to, enable multiple ecosystems to interconnect, much like the internet, and thus empowering 8+ billion individuals and 300+ million businesses by placing them at the center of their financial lives. It is a user-centric, unified, and universal approach, of course, to finance. The objective of the sandbox is to encourage participation of various technical service providers and asset issuers on the Finternet. The prototype provides a set of protocols and, schemes along with a developer sandbox. And you see how this all works, right? Called, how it's orchestrated and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is that it is there, okay? Getting more further into this, if you go to finternet-playground.vercel.app, what's one of the first things you see? Well, use cases, bank account tokenization, domestic money transfer, but this area about what's called MyProp. MyProp gives you access to your property via unified interface and unlock the power of seamless transactability. Now, look what it says. Sign in with the Finternet. Like, this is actually a product at this particular point. Property tokenization, activity log, everything has to be immutable, verifiable, so on and so forth. Now, where I'm going with this is this. Okay, you guys are fully aware of Mr. Michael Saylor, MicroStrategies. He's always stating that, in his opinion, Bitcoin, and let's face it, he's referring to BTCs, definitely not referring to BSV. I get it where we're going with this. But he refers to BTC, unfortunately, as being digital property. When we get more into the weeds about this, notice the terminology about, quote unquote, that property. All right, so what else do we have in regards to this, and why, again, does it matter? Well, jumping into this next part of the emphasis, okay, as I blew this up, even into the code from GitHub. Some of you guys are familiar with GitHub. What do you see? It's a breakdown. And here's the key area, the MIT license. Now, I will give, the whole thing a shout out. So Massachusetts Institute of Technology has been doing for a while now the whole collaboration with Quant Network. We know that. We've been there, done that. Thomas Harjano of MIT. And, he even has the connections to what is referred to as the IETF, the Internet Engineering Task Force, and we'll get more into that here in a bit. But again, that license comes from MIT. And how many projects have we been studying in regards to Quant, Project Hamilton, Project Roslyn, some of these other ones recently, Project Agora. But again, where does something like BSV play a role? Now, here is some of your aha moments here in a bit. Before we get into the aha moments, emphasis on token managers, individuals and businesses, trust service providers, and again, the whole concept of what, everybody? The unified ledger, ledger infrastructure, the sandbox, how we are able to track all this, especially when it comes to repo swaps and authentication. But again, this area about unified ledger, contract marketplaces, Finternet playground, okay? Because that now will take us over to here. This area is so worth looking into. Why? Well, shout out to CoinGeek. CoinGeek does a great job of specializing in, the whole concept of BSV all the time, but it's their pitch. Are you aware that they actually pitched what they got going on to the BIS? Now, again, don't shoot the messenger here. Maybe you don't like hearing stuff like this. This is not FUD. But for me, when we talk about the whole concept of, or get off the pot, well, if you had the best tech out there, and I always will give BSV, the props as far as having like the best of the best when it comes to, come on, Terranode. I mean, nothing competes with that, right? The tech of BSV is profound, right? I mean, even compare it to things like XRP. Don't get me wrong, I love my, XRP army. I'm very well diversified. But you compare like transactions per second, if that's your only focus, there is no comparison. They just blow everything completely out of the water. And I would say the only thing that would come in second place would be probably the whole thing of like, if Ripple needs to scale up, there is the M10, You know, they can do 1 million TPS on that financial side of things, right? And that's, again, we've done the research on that. And even with Quant, XDC, and all these other ones, the M10 is a real thing. So my attitude is on both sides, whether you're a BSV maxi or you're like me, you're into both. You can see that there is a scalability solution for both. But the pitch from BSV, and that's the whole point. And if anything, what does it say? Well, there was various projects, whether it was Project Symbiosis or Arum or Hertha, but it's that opinion. Every project, like they mentioned from CoinGeek.com about BIS tokenization, every project the BIS is launching for 2024, which is coming to an end here soon, can benefit from the public proof of work blockchain, namely, of course, BSV. Unlike many better known blockchains, the BSV blockchain is infinitely scalable and is set to process 1 million transactions or more per second this year. As for fees, they cost around, and listen to this, 0.34502. The only one that I know off the top of my head, and of course this is subject to change, that would be technically cheaper would be what? Stellar. I believe that they are 501. Maybe it's now 2, but that would be the only one that would stand out. And of course, for TPS wise, BSV would blow it out of the water. But every single one of these are playing a key role when it comes to this concept of unified ledgers, regulated settlement networks, and of course the RLN. All right. So as I get further into this pitch from BSV says it's a fantastic to see global governmental bodies and institutions recognize the benefits of tokenization. Right, we get that. But it says at the beginning of 2024, no blockchain, and I would agree with them, can scale to the levels of BSV blockchain. It was literally designed for enterprise and government purposes like those outlined by the BIS. Now again, not my words, theirs. Don't shoot the messenger. Some people, they don't like this. They don't like this. They don't like seeing it. But the key thing is world's only enterprise grade blockchain. Is that a true statement? Well, again, draw your own conclusion. But like it says here, it's about time. What's about time? You know? Well, this is a real long video, but again, the tags. We always cite these things about the tags. Bank for International Settlements, Bitcoin SV, BSV blockchain, and here's the key areas. Swiss National Bank. Emphasis will be on the Swiss National Bank as we get further into it, because we know that when it comes to the BIS, they are, of course, the central bank of central banks. They are the Swiss National Bank of, let's face it, Swiss banks. And of course, you see the World Bank. As we get further into this, I also want to take you over to this key area, because we did mention the whole thing of Swiss national banks. What do we have in regards to this? Well, citation comes from CoinGeek once again. Swiss National Bank wary of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, is this a little bit more recent? The answer is yes. Swiss National Bank wary of Bitcoin and, of course, Ethereum, and it states plain as day at the beginning of the outline, or this article, Swiss National Bank Chairman Martin Schlegel recently said that the bank is wary of digital currencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. With that said, he spoke at an event. He highlighted how the fluctuating value of such currencies made them impractical for payments. Right. So again, you know, whether you're Michael Saylor and so on, if you're on a peer-to-peer cash system as originally written in the Bitcoin original white paper, the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper, does this follow that whole idea of a Bitcoin, peer-to-peer cash system? Clearly it does not. But what one does truly follow that? Well, of course, you guys know the drill. It would be technically BSV. Are there other players in regards to it? Well, you could say that they follow the model of the white paper, but does it really truly have the scalability of something like BSV? So there was this event, this again was last month, highlighting the fluctuating value of such currencies made them impractical for payments. Again, recognizing that BTC and Ethereum are totally impractical, especially when it comes to cross-border payments. Doesn't matter if we're covering BSV or not, the Ripple XRP, RME, Stellar, and so on, you name it, XDC, they all agree, right? And that's why there's so much emphasis on this. So this whole thing, about the Swiss National Bank embracing some of the industry cutting edge technology, currently running pilots to test central bank digital currency, CBDCs. All right, so there's a perception versus reality, and again, how this all comes together. Okay, it says here specifically, it says the argument about energy use stems from BTC's inherent lack of utility. It would be much easier to defend it if it was powering a high volume of daily transactions, including, of course, payments for commerce, micropayments, applications, and all of the innovative use cases for tokens. Yet none of this is happening with BTC. Right. Truthfully, all this is and more is happening on BSV. We've been there. We've done that. But here's the interesting thing. People may have never fathomed this. So again, a pitch to the biz? Yes. For BSV? Yes. Plain as day. Look at this. Central banks continue to innovate using blockchain. Despite the unfortunate consequences of BTC advocates' chosen path, central banks like Swiss National Bank, European Central Bank, and others are utilizing digital ledgers and blockchains to innovate. Project Enbridge, which we know about, especially when studying Quant and XRP and stuff like that, previously overseen by the biz, is definitely an example of how blockchain tokenization are being used to speed up cross-border payments. Many other examples include ECB's progress with digital euro, China's digital yuan, etc., etc. But the BIS foresees the total value of tokenized assets at $2 trillion by 2030. If anything, that probably would be incredibly higher than that. All right. So do they cite, BlackRock? I mean, it's crazy to see somebody like, BSV mention anything about BlackRock, but they do mention that. They mention that central banks and financial giants like BlackRock, entrepreneurs, and established businesses will continue to build scalable blockchain solutions for scalable utility chains. Shout out to Cool Cat Crypto. He always said, you better believe guys like Larry Fink are fully aware of BSV. Well, if that's the case, why would they be fully aware of it? Again, enter in Terranode. And we already done that. Because like it says, Terranode is the digital backbone, of course, of Bitcoin. We are scaling out Terranode. You guys have seen some of these videos, and we'll present that to you. But when we get back into the whole thing about the BIS, understand, of course, a rich history, date back to 1930, 94 years ago. And as you see, that the Bank for International Settlements location is literally in Basel, Switzerland. Okay? And of course, the current general manager, who he's stepping down, I think, a little bit later next year, is Augustine Carstens. There's background in regards to the Rothschilds. Again, some people in the BSV community, they don't want to hear this stuff. And again, I'm not trying to make that FUD or controversy. For me, again, I'm an investor. I'm gonna invest in some of this stuff because it's coming whether we like it or not. But here's the thing. Again, that pitch. Because what do we have? Well, let's jump back into what we have. Because when we get into specifically what we have, BSV states to the BIS, plain as day, from bsvblockchain.org, that more still needs to be done in regards to making crypto assets ready for the central banks. But they claim, as in BSV, that they are, in fact, the best blockchain for governments and businesses. Some people, again, feel as though that when you get the government involved, well, is that going to be true freedom? And again, I don't want to make this too much of a debate about that. You can draw your own conclusion. But global adoption of business, or I should say blockchain technology, does require enterprises and lawmakers. You do need that whole thing of regulatory clarity. But just in case if you weren't aware of it, with massive scaling, micropayments, greater data capacity, and reliably lower fees, BSV blockchain is the best blockchain for enterprise-grade application services, already being used to build applications for diverse industry sectors. But just like what you saw, everybody, I'll come back in the frame, in regards to Hedera, Algorand, they even added Ripple. They added some other key ones, right? The DREC Alliance. Well, instead of having an alliance for all that, is BSV supposedly the one-stop shop where it's just them, they have something similar? Well, the answer is yes. Just like the DREC Alliance's concept, you also have that product underneath the suite umbrella of BSV blockchain. And again, that's definitely worth pointing out. Getting further into this, I want you guys to understand that, the system can also freeze assets, and we know that. But what do you see? You see this, the importance of digital asset recovery. So I think we get the gist of this. again, you can watch this. I don't want to make this a 3-hour long show, but again, I shared this in the past, and again, you're more than welcome to look into 2 minutes and 45 seconds, the importance of that. So I think we get the point in regards to that. So where else do we go from here? Where else we go from here is getting into the weeds. And shout out to Quant Pop in regards to this. These are, of course, screenshots taken from a cell phone and whatnot. Some of this is blurry, some of it isn't. But again, Finternet, okay? And as we get further into this, this really, really, here's some of your aha moments. Because when we get into this, to see this person, Rohan Sharan, dating back last summer, 2024, it really opens your eyes. And again, this was a great catch by Quant Pop. Good morning, folks. I am Rohan Sharan, founder of Time Chain Labs. I came here after the talk of Nandan at GFF. The idea of Finternet movement is, of course, fantastic. Goes on to mention, thanks for this initiative. This was the only way divided blockchain ecosystem going nowhere can actually reconcile and achieve real impact at scale. Again, emphasis on scale. I shared a similar vision for the financial system at Date conference in November, and of course he has a link to that. Time Chain Labs offers a white label custodial wallet service for real world assets. Again, how many times have we talked about real world asset tokenization and some of these key things? But it says he's got this thing called Assetizer and a tokenization service basically for real world assets. There's a team of 28 people at TCL. They worked on fintechs, banks, businesses across different countries, legal compliant, real world use cases for blockchain, supply chain, financing. And when you hear supply chain, you will actually see an example of XDC. And I did include that. So we'll get into that in a bit. But look what it says. Conditional loans, CBDCs, P2P loan engine with collateralized securities. So a lot of us really feels, well, when it comes to like ISO 222 messaging, XDC stands out in regards to, using that for collateral, but tokenized tickets, prepaid credits, DPP. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember me covering some of this stuff. There's a particular gentleman, really nice guy from Norway, from Unisat. He reached out to me and I was talking about this thing called the DPP mandate and where BSV stands out in regards to that. So to even see some of this, it's like, yeah, there's other projects, not just Unisat, that understand this concept of that particular mandate. And we're always talking about mandates on this channel. Again, I'm going to get into why I'm bringing this to you and why I support. So DPP, digital twins, how many times do I talk about some of this stuff when it comes just to jazz me? But working closely with the European partners for the implementation of DPP in Europe. Again, their particular mandate. Now this gets good, guys, real good. Because again, in this screenshot, it says that this gentleman, okay, again, just in case you forgot his name, he is Rohan Sharan, okay? He's been in blockchain space since 2014. Again, just like Stefan Eckel from Unisat, 10 years now. He was at IIT KGP. He witnessed the birth of Ethereum, the fall of layer 2's solutions, whether you agree with that or not. But again, is India believing in achieving a similar vision to the unified ledger? That's the bottom line. Does he recognize things like Terranode? He does. 1 million plus TPS. And he even cites the whole thing of AWS and SPV edge wallets with deep integration, of course, IPv6. BSV always stands out with the concept of IPv6. Now, here's your aha moment. Because when we talk about the whole concept of the Finternet, well, again, Augustine Karsten's vision of what we can do offline. All right, so here it is. Let's get more into this. You will see the whole concept of cryptographic keys for truly IP to IP or offline with NFC asset transfers. Again, IPv6, BSV, Terranode, you get the gist. We jump further into it. Again, this is from, like Discord. He has this video link, and it talks about like another key person, where he's explained what they've developed. So again, going from what we talked about in regards to this gentleman, Rohan Sharan, and then now jumping over to this person who is part of XDC, but has this project called Vyana. So he's ready with the XDC ecosystem. And it's like, okay, who are you pitching this to? Are you pitching this to the BIS? The answer is yes. How so? Well, jumping over to here. because this person that you saw, Manish Gadia, is a different person. All right. Again, same idea. Great example. Vayana is a debt platform. And look where he's part. He's part of XDC already. This was from March 18th. And again, the reason why I bring this to you guys, because I want you guys to understand that why would you have an example of a guy who's ready with XDC because he gets it. Supply chain. He gets it. Electronic trades documents bill becoming an act. But why would a guy on XDC also want to, further branch out to other things like, the concept of the Finternet and again, the whole thing of, like guys from BSV? Where does this all come together? And more importantly, the whole concept of like why we're into Ripple XRP, a lot of us. The concepts of tokenizing debt, the concepts of on-demand liquidity, right? We know how that's a huge solution, especially, man, that could have been a great solution back in, 2008, 2009 with the last recession. What about going further into the future? If things really went south. So I want to play this short clip where he goes into Vayana and again, bring you guys some real research
VDP platform
of why this matters. So I'm going to play this. It's not that long, and we'll tie in a little bit more about the whole thing with BSV. Here we go.
can be deployed on any EVM compatible blockchain. And if you want any kinds of customization, obviously at a price, we are ready to do it. The advantage that we have is we have a team of engineers on our payroll, which can facilitate the customizations for you. So if you want to deploy as a bank on a permission blockchain, that also is possible. Over 6 smart contracts currently are at play when we talk about VDP. So these are over 6 to 7 smart contracts which are deployed on blockchain basis your requirements. VDP's cloud deployment architecture has been made to keep the best practices of enterprise grade security used at regulated institutions such as banks in perspective. Learnings from major failures around blockchains have been incorporated into the architecture, making it one of the safest SaaS blockchain solutions out there. Moving on, have a look at the number of loan characteristics that you as a bank or a fintech would be able to control using VDP platform. More than 25 variable already. But again, totally up to you whether you want to use this 25 or you want to just pre-assign some variable there or even hide most of the variables to speed up the process flow. Completely customizable as per your requirements. Geography to geography, we understand that it's not just the tech, but support services also which will be required from a bank or a fintech's perspective. So let's say if it's a geography which is conducive to us, so if it's Singapore, Hong Kong, Dubai for that matter, we also offer ancillary non-financial services as part of the offering of VDP, which can include credit risk consultancy, which is scoring the memos, preparing of the credit memos, going in the market and referring and identifying those borrowers for you who can avail digital currency loans, facilitating and introducing you to the legal lawyers from a documentation perspective as well, help in getting you tied up with a debt collection agent, which can do soft and hard collections, whatever permissible by the regulations of that country. These are some of the non-financial services that we can offer as part of VDP.
All right, there's a lot more to it than just that. Excuse me. There's a lot more to it than just that, but I don't want to, make this super, super long. Here's, again, the point. The point is this particular guy pitching what he has with his ecosystem project already built on BSV, or XDC, but branching over to BSV or pitching to like, the BIS and so on. Interesting, right? Very interesting. So even with some of these other key things, a very familiar person, I apologize for pausing it right there. So, I mean, a lot of you guys are very familiar with this gentleman from obviously, XDC, right? Well, what do you have? Dating back even to 2023, you see the concept of the electronic trades documents bill. Again, it became an act. And, the key thing is these guys definitely talk to, again, your XDC bigwig here, about all this, right? Digitization, trade finance. Again, you understand the importance of this. Again, this project, Viana. Now, check this out. I'm going to bring you over to here. Viana, again, right on their site, emphasis is on supply chain. Naturally, they would look into something like XDC, right? So, supply chain finance, cash flow, compliance, they are truly in India. They are truly here in the United States, Singapore, Dubai, like all these key areas that he was talking about. Well, again, if you go to X, what do they talk about here? They talk about financing India's largest supply chains, 35 billion financed till date. Viana gives easy, low-cost access to payables, receivables, financing, enterprise, etc., etc. All right. Again, why even point it out? Well, if you go to their LinkedIn, they talk about how banks, literally a month ago, can build high-quality loan books with a simple solution. Complete this crossword puzzle, how VTAP enables us. Now, not to confuse this with Visa VTAP. I know it sounds similar, and I know the logo looks the same because we talked about, Visa VTAP selected Quant. Again, this is a different thing, and I don't want you guys to confuse that. But again, it's kind of interesting to see some of this. And again, why point this out? Well, back to this guy, the guy that we started off with, Rohan Sharan, founder and CEO, Time Chain Labs. Again, why point this out? The reason why I'm pointing this out is just in case you missed it from earlier. Well, what do we have? He's the same guy pitching this literally to the BIS, right? About like how they would like to be a dev, if you will, and build, right? And again, coming from over, from BSV. So what you see here, I gotta jump back to it, is Time Chain Labs, Future of Finance. All right. And if anything, I'll hit a like. Okay. I want you to hear this. You have to hear it. Because when he gets into the weeds about what is instant, what is programmable, even with Quant, we always talk about programmable money, how it will be automated, how it would scale. I got into the key highlights. Listen to it for yourself. And then after that, we'll wrap everything up and why it matters. BSV pitched to the BIS? Are you kidding me? And how about BSV and Quant mentioned the same breath? Are you joking? Yeah, it's a real thing. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. Smash the like if you haven't done so already. Really appreciate you guys. Here we go.
There are different types of innovative payment solutions that can be created with CBDCs that we have been working upon with CBDCs. And that is, you can divide payments into a lot of criteria that this table I have provided here shows. There are micro payments that are possible. There are streaming payments that are possible. There are conditional payments that are possible and automated payments that are possible. Micro payments on the internet are payments of amount less than $1. And that is what powers a data economy that can happen with CBDCs. Streaming payments are to stream payments just like you stream data on the internet. Conditional payments is to write conditions for the payment to happen. Automated payments are scheduled payments. And all of this is powered with the central bank digital currency that is programmable. Now this, when it is rising, you're having a new standard created. But this is the central bank creating the tokens. If you look at the layers of money, that's the M0 layer of money. But then there is the M1 layer of money, which is by banks. Now banks have got deposits, and deposits can get tokenized. Fixed deposits that are locked right now can be used in a smart contract to prove that you have this money amount of fixed deposit, and you can get a loan on top of it. You can get a credit on top of it, and you can have liquidity with that and build other layers of solutions as fintechs using those fixed deposits as tokenized amounts to show these are the different use cases of payments. You can use the fixed deposit for payments itself. You can use it for settlement and trading. You can use it as collateral for escrow payments, for holding conditional payments, and for liquidity, for guarantees. What could guarantee look like? You have a fixed deposit that is essentially showing that you have this much amount in your bank account, And with that, you have a credit. You can avail a credit from another bank because you have the proof that you have this much of deposits with you. Now, these are the use cases, and with this, you can even go into different sectors and verticals into specific niches, like you can go into time-locked contract to create trusts for children. You can go into goal-based savings. Let's say you have a goal of achieving some kind of spending criteria later on. Let's say you're saving for your children's education. You can have goal-based criteria for making savings or fixed deposits. You can go into escrow services. That's very critical. Between different businesses where trust is needing to be established. And trust is where blockchain again comes in as a shared ledger. Because you have the escrow locking in the money as a fixed deposit between the entities that are interacting, and it can only get unlocked with the condition when the payment conditions are satisfied. So this is what really automation of finance is all about. And this is where the DeFi is at the core of it, the decentralized finance. And the shared ledger that powers all of it, that connects all of it, is at the core. Now, there is another term that you will come across. The reason why I mentioned the term shared ledger and not a distributed ledger technology, which you will hear by many people, is that distributed ledgers fragment into multiple ledgers, and you lose the benefits of a shared ledger in the first place. And you're back to a system that exists already right now with different ledgers disconnected all across the world, and they're not shared. If the ledgers are not shared, it's like the internet revolution came, but you are going back to the system where the computers are there which are disconnected. And you're not unlocking the value of connected computers. Just like that, you're not unlocking the value of a shared ledger. And that's where the beauty of the globally shared ledger comes in. And that's what our vision is of the financial future, a connected future, where shared ledgers, tokenization, CBDCs, and DeFi, the decentralized finance, can all be powered and come together to create the new financial ecosystem. We at TimeChain Labs are pioneering the digital economy transformation with financial automation. We are building no-code, low-code platforms for programmable CBDC, programmable wrappers for what is issued to you as digital rupees right now, and that are issued on the blockchain, and you can have programmability on top of CBDCs. CBDC currently in India that is issued doesn't have programmability. You can have programmability with the wrappers we have built. We have built deposit token platform for banks, and that can be used by you guys to develop solutions by different banks. And we power all of it using the ESP blockchain, which is a highly scalable blockchain. And that creates and solves the problem of the fundamental problem that existed in the ecosystem of blockchain scalability.
Okay, so from there, he pretty much wraps it up. Specifically mentions BSV. Now check this out. If we jump over to his site, okay, you will see from timechainlabs.io this key area. And again, creating value. Integrated solutions for diverse sectors. Governments, banks, universities, regulators, startups, NGOs, pretty much everything he mentioned earlier. Even like Quant, cybersecurity. Again, you see all this, right? Real estate, integrated solutions for a diverse industry. All right, impressive. Very, very impressive. Here's where things get really, really interesting. Shout out again to Quant Papa for this highlight. Okay, so if you look at this Google patent, blockchain communications and ordering. Well, again, why is this important? Well, we can get more into the weeds of this, and this would take 3 or 4 hours. I don't want to do that. But it's the classification in regards to this specific patent. G06Q3006, buying, selling, or leasing transactions. A lot of you guys have talked about some of this, about like even with things like Ripple and so on. All right, here's what's interesting. If you jump down to this key area, back to that whole thing of GB2017, which would be 2017, 111879D0. Why, again, is this worth looking into? Well, you see, even from, I guess, apparently originally September 6th of 2017, N-Chain Holdings. And what does it say next to it? Computer implemented system and method. All right. Is there something else we have in regards to this? Yeah, there definitely is. Because when you go to the top, of this, other than recognizing there's things like Intel and Royal Bank of Canada and all these other ones, even Thunder Token, shout out to Rue Black for covering that in the past, right? If you go to the very top of this, what do you see? You see that you have the whole thing of blockchain communications and ordering, and boom, US 202.003 11718A1, United States, and inventor Gilbert Verdian, Colin Patterson, Gaetano Mondelli, Palo Tasca. And what do you see? Current assignee is the Quant Network. So in-chain Quant Network? Huh. Wow. And look at the list of events. You have the priority of all this. You have the application filed by Quant Network. You have what's assigned, again, to Quant Network. So again, in-chain side of buying, selling, and leasing transactions, and Quant side in regards to this particular patent for blockchain communications and ordering. Because earlier we heard about the whole thing, like you saw from that gentleman when he was giving that pitch, was everything has to talk to each other. Well, how many times did Gilbert Verdian talk about the concept that we can't have walled gardens and silos and all that? Right. Common ground here. Now, getting more into the weeds again of this is understanding, even from, like I said earlier, the end-chain side of things. So I'm going to blow this up, take you over to here, and again, why share this? Well, it's because you see here, if I'm on the right one, I'm on the wrong one. Sorry about that. Let me take it over here. Again, remember how we talked about Quant in UK? So computer implemented system and method, patents, classifications, hash tables. All right, current assignees, end-chain. Okay, and you see worldwide applications, all the big players, United States, Japan, all over the place, right? But this time, again, application filed, of course, by end-chain. And we know the whole thing of end-chain, BSV, we get the gist. Now check this out. Back to the whole thing of Tokenovate, I want to call it. A different particular key player. They have a partnership-centric approach. Tokenovate excels at collaboration. Again, similar-minded companies, organizations, we aim to set new standards. How many times do we talk about standards when it comes to quant? I mean, heck, even, BSV has, I guess, apparently like their own standard, and they have full interoperability as well. So together, similar-minded companies and organizations, we aim to set new standards, embrace the power of DLT, enable collateral mobility, eliminate reconciliation, reduce time to settlement for future distributed financial market infrastructure. Now, I'm not going to play an hour video for you, but what I do is take you over to here and allow you to see Richard Baker, who talks with CoinGeek, which always highlights BSV, right, about derivative contracts. Because how many times do we talk about derivatives, tokenization derivatives? XDC really stands out in that regard. Again, why are people from XDC also wanting to branch out? They're not leaving XDC, by the way, but if anything, they're also wanting to, they got some stuff going on with BSV, or if anything, they're trying to be a dev for, the concept of the Finternet. Right? Think about this, everybody. Birds of feather do flock together, and if anything, they network with each other. They talk to each other. So this one is about 30 seconds to 1 minute. We'll play this. We'll come right back, and then we'll tie in some other key things, developments of why you want to pay attention to all of this. So again, smash the like if you haven't done so already. Listen to Richard Baker talk about derivative contracts. Here we go.
Tokenovate is kind of born out of really the opportunity to go a little bit deep on the Bitcoin protocol, and I'm going to ask my good friend John to cover this a little bit more than I can, but we've kind of built a platform that is a life cycle event management platform for the trading of financial instruments, and those instruments are known as derivative contracts.
Right.
And we brought two worlds together, I think, John, is the easiest way to say, which is earlier today on the panel, we had the CEO of the International Swaps and Derivatives Association, ISDA, and they've been on a journey to digitize these legal contracts that ultimately help financial counterparties around the world use derivative contracts for risk management and hedging of underlying risk and in different asset classes. These are fixed income, interest rate swaps, commodities, and increasingly recently digital assets.
Okay, guys, listen to me on this. You guys have heard this common narrative for many years now. Bitcoin is supposed to be a hedge against inflation. How many times have you heard that? But in reality, if you look more into it, it's a hedge against money printing, and always has been and always should be, right? But if that's the case, then, you look at BTC, it doesn't really seem like it's following that peer-to-peer cash system. BSV definitely does. Getting more into this, and again, why I'm pointing it out to you, is this particular document. It's smart derivatives contracts from concept to construction. Remember how you just heard this particular gentleman who is Richard Baker, right? Tokenovate, right? So as I full screen this, I want to show you this document. And again, why I'm putting so much emphasis on it. This is King and Wood Mallison's ISDA, smart derivative contracts from concept to construction. Again, some of the key terminology. Because again, this is a white paper, and I'm not going to go through all 28 pages of smart derivative contracts from concepts to construction, but I will give you some key highlights here about it and why I'm bringing it to you guys, whether it's the whole concept of, the legal terminology and, where everything that matters comes together. Because for me, it's validation. That far right side about how you can validate templates having the same legal effect as legal terms of derivatives contracts. Again, back to the gentleman you saw earlier from, Time Chain Labs, okay? And how he says, hey, I'm from, basically BSV. And if anything, and like, what about the other guy from XDC, right? So again, what you heard from Richard Baker, okay? So this is adding up. Again, derivatives contracts. So all of this is coming together. All of this is matching up. All right. Would you like a boil it, mash it, stick in a stew moment? Because we were talking about this whole thing about BSV and standards, right? Well, enter in Quant once again. Because what do you see here? The legal standards applicable to derivatives contracts are reflected in ISDA's standard legal document. For example, ISDA's work in commissioning netting options is in relation to the documentation that provides certainty to derivatives markets participants that are entering into legally enforceable netting arrangements. The development of commercial standards in the derivatives markets has been reflected through the development of ISDA's documentation framework, and it does include credit support documentation in its transaction-specific definition booklets. But again, boil it, mash it, stick that sucker in a stew, because what do you see here? ISO Technical Committee, the Quant Network Standard of ISO TC 307 Blockchain Distributed Ledger Technologies does include Working Group 3, and it does include smart contracts and their applications. Again, think about this. Everybody wants a piece of the biggest pie. Why would it not just be your Quants, Ripple, XRP, your ISOs? Enter in also what you got going on with BSV. And to see this speaks absolute magnitude, is profound, right? All right. This is crazy. I promised I would bring you guys this, because when we get into this, this is the first and only time you will probably have ever seen this. And shout out to you guys who have. But Quant Papa gave me this highlight, and he pointed out that this is from the FinTech Times. BSV and Quant mentioned in the same breath. Interesting. We hear from Finality. How many times would we cover Finality, especially with Quant? But we hear from Finality at BSV Association, and also Quant Network at Digital Asset Com, which is to revolutionize capital markets. Again, think about capital markets ecosystems as they explore the latest innovations in blockchain tech, how it's used outside of crypto, what the future holds. Past, present, future. That was dating back to May. But I didn't have enough to provide you guys in regards to the research. And again, this is why I'm finally bringing it to you guys. But again, sometimes people don't want to hear BSV and Quant mention the same breath. Some people even think that QNT is garbage. Hey, call it whatever you want. But nonetheless, standards garbage? I don't know. I don't think so. But if anything, check this out. this really gets good as well. And this will be, again, the close to the icing on the cake. I know this is quite the deep dive. So you have here from that article from the FinTech Times, this is what they're citing. May 31st, 2024, how has blockchain evolved in the past year and what does the future hold? Well, again, get into the weeds of what was mentioned. They give you the history lesson of Bitcoin. They give you a whole thing about risk. We've been there, done that. I believe Canton Network personally is part of Quant behind the scenes. That's an outline for another day. But you see Brian Doherty highlighted. And again, it's this key highlight. Because in the quotation, again, Quant, or I should say BSV, then Quant mentioned on the same article, talks about Endchain. And again, don't ever forget about Endchain, because digital signature application Endsign is transforming document management across industries by enhancing the security and transparency of document signing. Again, when we saw that project from XDC, they already understood it with XDC. And then elaborating, get more into the other sides of things, like some of these guys with BSV. But a common ground of they want to develop into this thing called the Finternet. Again, why? Well, lots of opportunity there because it's the connections. And as you also see here in the highlight, transparency, document signing, processes. The application ensures that documents are tamper-proof, simplifies the verification process, fosters trust, streamlining workflows in sectors where documents have integrity and they're paramount. And look, literally right below that, you see Andrew Carrier of the Quant Network. And we know about him. But again, it says, while unregulated crypto experiment is clearly or has clearly failed, there has been many boring use cases, funny the terminology, of how those prioritize security, regulation, and efficiency. That is making a real difference in improving everyday applications. And again, we understand how Quant's authorized plays a factor. But again, both of these mentioned literally in the same breath, and they give you an idea of what's next. Even referencing the quote-unquote competition. Oh, no, we should never talk about that. But anyway, there it is. All right, here's the icing on the cake. Here's how we bring it all full circle. Literally cited from Quant Network. Here's the highlights. You see the whole thing about the Finternet, unified ledgers. Finternet, again, unified ledgers. It's in their own view from the Quant Network that interoperability protocols limited to a particular distributed ledger technology, again, back to that pitch you saw from the Indian gentleman, right, would not be appropriate and instead will most likely see gateway-specific protocols, as this will allow for easier integration. Think about the terminology when it comes to that integration. What is involved is that API orchestration and how that basically all works. And again, that's where it's at for me. So to see all this, I think speaks absolute volumes. Whether you're a fan of Quant, whether you're a fan of BSV, or even recognize the whole thing of XDC, supply chains, these guys will recognize their tech. And if anything, recognize interoperability to solve real world use cases at scale. So do me a favor if you listen to this outline and simply type this into the comments. And that is FIN, as in short for the Finternet. And I'll know that you listen to the entire outline. I really appreciate you guys listening to these outlines. As the saying goes, know what you have, know why you hold it. The research trumps FUD 110%. I'm rooting for all you guys' success moving forward, whether you're a fan of whatever particular technology and so on. But for me, to finally see Quant, BSV, mention the same breath, had to get into the weeds of it. Even honorable mention to XDC. All right. So with that said, we have another segment for you. It is Quant with the Overwallet. You're going to want to stick around for that segment, but for the meantime, we're going to take a pause. We have a big show tonight. I really appreciate that. 454 people on the live, 120 on YouTube, 334 on X. So really do appreciate it. You guys rock. and we'll get back into the comments and recognize any specific things that need to be mentioned and what questions you might have. All right. Let's see here. Stingy Barberry says, evening to everybody at 6:55. I was about an hour ago, so I do apologize. And Dietary Car, thank you. Merry Christmas to you. And I do appreciate that. I am not Oscar. I think you're referring to Oscar Ramos, but hey, I'm glad the algorithm got so messed up that it recommended me over Oscar. Nothing against him. He's cool. All right. Well, I know about the whole thing of Doge. I still hold Doge. You're going to have to draw your own conclusion on that. I can't give you no financial advice, but, I hold Doge. I'll tell you that much. All right, spontaneous combustion. Is XLM good buy right now or worth waiting for a lower? I think last I saw it, in my opinion, anything under 40 cents is good. I have some friends that FOMO'd into XLM, basically speaking. We'll bring this up on the chart real quick. But like they got into XLM late, they FOMO'd in because they're like, oh, it finally proved itself, so now I'll buy it. Yeah, it's well under 40 cents. Me personally, could it go further down? Absolutely. But I told a few guys, shout out to Jack Thompson, told you guys on the phone, in my opinion, since we're on that, the days of 9 cents seem like they're gone. To me, anything under 40 cents regards to Stellar isn't bad. Could have pulled back further? Absolutely. You never know what's going to happen in the market, but I did hit a lot of my goals as Stellar, but I'm looking to accumulate more Stellar. After I hit my next goal for XRP, which will be here soon, my next emphasis will be a focus on Stellar, and will also be a focus on things like XDC. I think XDC, if you got to pick one, is the better buy. Let's just be honest. But nonetheless, Stellar is fantastic. So, again, not financial advice. You got to choose what you got to do. But if you're looking from the perspective of, price-wise and what can move, or some people call it first mover's advantage, if you don't have a position, again, it's something to look into. All right, so we're going to go further down. Let's go down to some young guy. Funny name. You think BlackRock may be part of causing BTC to fork? I watched a video that gave a lot of good reason for that. It's definitely, all these things are more than possible. I don't want to get into the weeds about SegWit and all that. There's a lot of guys that do a better job with that, like your Satoshis and stuff like that. But when I saw the whole thing about Quant and like BSV and XDC, and it's just like, wow, man, these guys are making a pitch to the BIS. And these guys are part of XDC, and this other one was literally already part of BSV. And to see that, these two Indian companies wanting to branch out their ecosystem, it's like, huh. And then to see those patents, it's just like, huh, interesting. So you're a Vancouver Canuck, right on. I think I knew that before you used to go to games. Good to see you, River, once again. This speaks about BSV. Yeah, awesome. I would have to agree with you on this. I think BSV is very undervalued as well. If you want to go for ones that are undervalued, again, guys, hard to get, but you can get it. You might have to jump through some hoops to get it, but you can get it. All right. Yeah, I won't be buying that. Yeah, let's face it. That could be the case too. A lot of these guys do lie. Look at Jamie Dimon. How many times did he lie too, right? Trish says she's so tired of Michael Saylor, Mark Yusko, Rob Paul. Well, he's got good perspective. I get it. Sometimes people get tired of them. I hear you. As if crazy people really want to help everyday folks. Good point. They want to help folks. They would mention XRP. That's a good point. Good point. Trish was from the alpha. R. Anderson, QNT to 800 this bull cycle. I got way higher than that, but I hear you. It's good to be conservative. There's nothing wrong with that. You guys have a conversation. Hoping for XCC to get to 50 cents this bull run. Absolutely. Yeah, no problem. All right. Yeah, you're very welcome, Garen King. I do appreciate you. Next, are you saying, okay, you guys are talking to each other. All right. Let's see here. Let's go further down. Let's see what you guys have. Oh, the channel. Thank you. Hey, Tim Shea. What am I talking about? Did I not properly welcome the one and only Tim Shea? You see, guys, this guy right here is one of the OGs of OGs, along with Selmo Fudd and a few other guys, right? Cody Core. So if he's the first comment, usually I do a little something of, you know, I welcome the one and only Tim Shea, who sprays from far away, has everybody hitting that DECK, and he is the mayor of crypto, the crypto commissioner, representing the 589th district of the XRP Army and his fellow constituents. Tim, if you're still here, I'm sure you appreciated that. Anyway, all right, let's go further down. So, you know, if you've been an OG like that, you get the honorable shout out, you know, and shout out to Selmo too. All right, Territory, I like the name. You talked about Terranode. Gilvernian will take QNT to the effing moon. I would have to agree with that. Bullish choices. Hey, man, good to see you. I always recognize your avatar. It always helps, you know, guys, consider getting an avatar. Ian Territory. It just helps me remember you a lot easier, but, you know, you don't have to. All right, let's go further down. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's good that you're patient. All right, the Justin, son of some young guy. Okay. He's selling everything this cycle, he says, but QNT. Yeah, 61 of them. Hasn't been easy. That's big for me. Hey, Ben, I mean, you know, the way I look at it, so people ask me, what's the minimum to have? I've always been consistent about this. I said, you know, 10. But, you know, what about Gilbert Verdian? He always said 1. Why would he say 1? You know, a lot of people don't realize that. So it's, again, how long you hold. All right. Hey, there's Mental, like always looking sharp, brother. Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you're enjoying your rest of your Sunday. You guys rock. We have over 500 people here. Not too shabby since I've been gone for over a week. And again, this program will be chopped up. All right, let's go further down. Let's see what we have. You really like Coinbase. I'm not a big fan of Coinbase, but I hear you. You know, sometimes acquiring some of these assets is getting out of the comfort zone, but I get it. I get it. Hey, I appreciate that. I do try. All right. Seth says, do you guys, hold on, that doesn't make sense. Do you guys, China and USA could come be, possibly. I mean, it'd be interesting. Absolutely. You know, here's the thing. Follow guys like Reggie Middleton. I'll give these guys a shout out just real quick. If you would like, if you haven't done this, I watched the whole thing. Okay. So, I don't know, maybe in the future I could do a collaboration with Kurt Walker Jr. of, you know, the whole thing with BSV, but, there was Reggie Middleton, Kurt Walker. Hold on. They had an interview not that long ago. Yeah, here. I want to show this on the screen real quick. I listened to this whole thing. Why would a guy from Veritasium, okay, go out of his way, if you will, to be featured on something like, you know, let's face it, a BSV focused broadcast? It's a very interesting, you know, collaboration, if you will. Reggie Milton shares his thoughts and insights, but again, think about it. Think about how the SEC went after, you know, Reggie Milton and so on. Veritasium was a fantastic project, and you know, again, it's suppression. So Reggie Milton embraced the BSV community, but not in this segment, but a while back it was mentioned with Reggie Milton. Shout out to Rue Black. He mentions what was it, Blockchain Zay, and I forget the other guy's name, but he's friends with those guys. So they interviewed Reggie Milton a while back, and one of the topics that was brought up was, could, again, based off of patents and so on, could BTC, you know, could Bitcoin BTC be switched to something like, you know, Bitcoin SV, BSV? And the answer was yes. It doesn't have to have a retail approval of that to happen. It could just plain happen. Some people call that a switch in itself, a flip of the switch itself. I would agree. But anyway, it's a very interesting listen. I know I'm not going to play it for you guys here, but you know, that's a little over an hour, and it's an enjoyable sit down interview with the one and only Reggie Milton. You know, I have high respect for the man. But again, you know, there's been so many projects that have been suppressed, of course, by the SEC. It's not just Ripple XRP. Yeah, they have the money, but you know, library credits in the past, Veritasium with Reggie Milton. Very nice interview. Will definitely open your eyes. All right, I'm gonna go further down. Let's see, Bertoshi, welcome. ETF filing. Okay, Let me see if you guys have any specific questions. I want to kind of catch up a little bit. Dilip Patel says, hey, welcome, by the way. BlackRock could change ticker symbol. Exactly. We just literally discussed that. So, and my thing is, some people say, nah, never going to happen. There's too many institutions and, they chose BTC. I get that. But if that was to happen, like you said, again, you could call it lottery ticket, call it whatever you want. I mean, it's like I'm going to have some of this stuff on the side just in case. Why wouldn't I? And so my last bags of BSV, of course, was right around the $25 range. That was close to bottom, if not being the bottom. And, I was glad I loaded up during that particular time. And I know some of you guys did too. And some of you guys are, you're recognizing the $50 to $65 area for BSV, and you're doing what you're doing. All right. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. Well, no problem. You guys having your own conversation. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's welcome some of you guys through Joe G. Welcome. Thank you very much, Scott. Appreciate that. Thank you guys for listening. By the way, Greg Ballou, appreciate that. Again, it'll be chopped up, later on. One of the beneficial watching the live show is you get commercial free. I don't exactly make money on the commercial free other than super chats and stuff like that, but super chats are never required, but I'm always grateful for that. But later on the chopped up versions, you guys will see commercials of that. As the saying goes, I forgot who said, man needs to make his money or whatever, right? Anyway, it is what it is. But I do appreciate it. All right, let's go further down. Travis, thank you for listening to the outline. Let's go further down. See if you guys have anything specific. Dennis Lill, shout out to you, man. Always appreciate when you attend. He says, strong old Velo XCC value buys. HBAR will be top 5 projects, so is DCA. Yeah, actually, HBAR is still on my list for consistent DCAing. And, there's some other ones that are, on that short list. Of course, I have HBAR, but again, more of that accumulation because, it's obviously done some things. So, yeah, you could do if you have access, Mexi, KuCoin, there's some other ones. Yeah, right, BitTrue. Hey, good to see you again, brother. Been a while since I've seen you. All right, David Ferguson, most exciting development QT in the last couple months without getting into the weeds. Yeah, good point. All right, let's see what else you guys have. You know what? I have Luna Classic. I'm still holding it. And of course, rooting for that and so on. All right, Kenneth Robinson, good to see you. Welcome back. You guys are all having a good laugh, right? All right. You got all these ones, the X's, Jasmine. Awesome. Hey, Mike's Crypto. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yes, Merry Christmas to you guys. No Jasmine coverage for tonight. Can't cover everything in one day, but I'm looking to get more coverage. I do appreciate you being here, though. And Trish states, do you think that Sailor and other maxis are going to dump on retail one day for ISO 222 assets? It's hard to say what they're going to do. I mean, I am convinced that, Sailor's, completely sold out to BTC. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it is kind of hard to say in that regard. What really drives up the price, to me, yeah, it's a scarce asset, but as far as the tech, that is just, it's kind of like investing into the tokenized version of AOL. At this point, it's just, but, we could agree to disagree on that. But it's definitely, in my opinion, not the peer-to-peer cash system as mentioned in the original Bitcoin white paper, but we get that. I think it was phenomenal, personally. I think that was ahead of its time for the time being. Maybe they make a comeback. I don't know. But interesting to see a guy, obviously Reggie Middleton, who is credited, by the way, as being the founder of DeFi, literally with patents and so on. And you want to talk about great price action before the SEC went after it. Absolutely, look at it. But it's a shame that, what happened. But again, why would he embrace BSV? That should be your takeaway if you want to get more into it. All right. Hey, thanks, man. Good to see you back, ISO Maxi. Okay, I'll be honest, and some of these guys aren't going to like hearing it, but here's the thing. So we do research, right? There will be FUD when it comes to certain things. If you study, just do this. This is for anybody. When you go to a channel, click on where it says videos. Instead of clicking on where it says latest, click on what's popular. Again, this will take not even that much research. 5 minutes most. Pick your favorite, content creator. Nothing against those guys. I don't really go after other people. That's just not my style. There's ones that have gone after me. It is what it is. I'm not going to mention them anymore. But I do thank them for all the free publicity. Right? Anyway. So my thing is, you will see certain ones, whether the ones that say that all this stuff is going to go to zero or whatever. But notice there's a common trend if they say it's going to go to zero, or if their videos get a lot of views because they create that FUD. And just draw your own conclusion. Like, do they have something solid? Don't get me wrong. Some people do have, constructive criticism about projects. Don't get me wrong. But I've seen it. I've seen a lot of what you're talking about. I mean, there's one of the biggest ones out there. What's his name? Ben Armstrong. I guess I'll mention him because he's a big name. I mean, but, he kind of brought it himself. But there's other people that recognize that. There's other ones that say it's going to go to zero. Not saying that he said it was going to go to zero. I still mine Caspa. Do I like the idea that my rewards of my mining has been dramatically slashed? 1/4 of what I originally started. And instead of getting every day, it's once every 3 to 4 days. No, I hate that. But it is what it is. I feel as though that if Caspa did amazing in a bear market, it still is going to have its time. To me, they're the next era of proof of work. That has to have its moment. But, some of these guys have pointed out they don't have all the, it is not, utility in motion yet. Well, everything takes time. So I haven't given up on it, but, I still mine it. So does Will Fix. Hey, pray for Will Fix, everybody. He is really, really sick. And he has been. It's sad. So, say prayers for him. He's been very ill. He hasn't put out any content for a while. Last I talked to him, he said he's getting a little bit better, but I mean, I've been sick for a while, but I'm finally getting over it for the most part. I would say about like 90%. I'm still hoarse in the voice, but anyway. Yeah, he's a great listen. Absolutely. I'm still sticking to my guns. Some people say that, I'm not going to mention the guy's name, but he says that, I'm a liar and stuff like that. I provide research. How's that lying? I provide sources, citations. How's that lying? I'm just providing information. It's how I honestly feel about it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So what? But the way I look at it, QNT will be the most expensive token in history. Token. And of course, we talk about BSV. Do I believe that, BSV could very well be the most expensive coin in history? Well, absolutely. I think even XRP could be as well, So all these ones are in part of my top 10. So, and knowing that QNT, 14.88 million tokens, max supply. That's, we want to talk about, if you had to pick one project, in my view, okay, which token would have the most profound supply shock? QNT has to stand out. Even if a person didn't like QNT, it has to stand out. Again, it's just my opinion. I'm going to get burned on Luna Classic. I'm no hater, but looking to there. Yeah, I'm way down on my Luna Classic, but I'm still holding it. And I did miss that KuCoin staking. So originally I staked 15 million on KuCoin, and just kept it locked up and locked up and locked up. I eventually had 20 million. So I earned 5 million from staking, which wasn't too bad, better than kicking the butt. And then from there, I did kind of like swap that for some other particular ones, whether it's your BSVs and your Hedera's, some of the ISO coins and tokens. But the main thing was, like I'm at, I think I'm roughly a little over 17 million. So I missed that, and I understand I can do other platforms for staking, but if they're, shout out to Happy Caddy Crypto. If I had to pick one guy, also 2-Bit, he does a good job, but I think the most consistent of the bunch, if I had to narrow it down to one guy, is Happy Caddy Crypto. He's kept everybody the most informed He's been the most transparent, and he's the most like embracing of the community. If there was ever a guy who is determined to turn that thing around and get it done, and you had to get credit, it would be like, here's your roses, man. Here's your flowers. It would be him. Um, so I still have, I guess you say have faith in it. Some people don't want to get into things for faith, and I get that. I get that. But, what a comeback story that would be. And from what I gathered, even from his coverage, they are turning things around. But again, how much patience are people going to have? I don't know. But if you want to talk about the ultimate comeback story, I mean, even at 3 cents, good Lord, with the bag I have, and some of you guys got bigger bags, but that's not the point. The point is, again, holding for the what ifs. I mean, I don't do that with everything, but Luna Classic is one I used to cover in the past and so on. So, all right. Reggie and Veritasm are selling silver coins with QR code or something Reggie is planning. Oh, awesome. Very cool. Welcome, Fluffy Joe. All right, let's go further down. QNT 5 years around 100 to 300 billion market cap, 9 years, one. Exactly. You can imagine how much QNT will be worth per token. So you get it. The QNT of some young guy. Okay. All right. Utility Maximus from one Maximus to another. I salute you, sir. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. BlackRock sold a bunch of BTC recently and coming dump. Could be. And have you guys noticed every single time there is mention about, what's going on in regards to, Mount Gox, like just a breath of Mount Gox, market tanks every single time for the most part. All right. We're going to go more further into the comments and we're getting to the next part. And let's just see if you have anything specific. Hassan I says, thank you for the valuable information shared. It's always been excellent. What are your top 5 picks for this year? This year? Well, we're almost done with the year. So if you're referring for 2025, I'm going to go with, QNT still, XRP. I'm going, with XDC, Jasmine, of course, part of that list. I think the comeback story will be BSV, but I don't know if it's right at the beginning. I don't think that, I'm just going to be blunt. I don't think that's going to be a thing at the beginning of 2025, but late 2025, I think so. I think they're going to be the unsung hero of the bunch. Hedera obviously is really, really going to stand out, especially with the whole thing they got going on with NVIDIA as of recently. I think we'll finally start seeing examples, as I would say, of utility being put in motion because of what deadlines and mandates and so on. We've seen a taste of that, so that's just a little bit. Clearpool definitely does need an honorable mention. They killed it when it comes to real world asset tokenization. They killed it when it comes to capital market ecosystems, credit. I mean, you name it. That's real utility in motion right now. That is now money. People talk about the now money. That is money now, and that's funding VCs now. VCs want funding now. They don't want to go to the traditional banks like they used to and get turned down because they don't have enough collateral and so on. Clearpool does risk assessment on these projects. They vet them. They're on Mantle. They're on Polygon. They're Ethereum, Optimism. I mean, they've been there. They've done that. And only, was it 720 million tokens in circulation, 1 billion max supply. That project has absolutely outperformed everything that we normally talk about. Yeah, Jasmine did over 20x if you count the time it went up to 5.8 cents. XRP went up quite a bit, a few X's, Stellars. A lot of this stuff has done really, really good, right? Your Hederas, your Algorands. But yeah, I mean, from my last bag of Clearpool has done about a 28x since then. You want to count that? Well, that's the top performer. So I got to give them their flowers, as saying goes. Thank you. I really appreciate. Maybe you guys don't believe this, but I actually do. It says in Scripture to pray for your enemies. It's a hard thing to do as a human being. It's so much easier to be bad, right? But I do pray for them and so on. I pray that they'll get peace. Sometimes we don't understand why people want to be the way they are. They maybe something that ruined a person. family member, something, toxicity. But for me, I don't surround myself with narcissists. I was in a really bad relationship with a narcissist. You know what I mean? And never again. Never again. So, all right. Yeah. Next, whoever that next lady is, she has to be sold out to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I don't have time to waste. 43 years old. You know, technically speaking, I haven't started my life, if you will. You know, in my opinion, starting a life is having a family, and I can't get involved in another relationship for 6 years and then wake up, be 50, and still trying to figure it out. No way, no way. You know, that's just the way it is. All right, let's go further down. Kind of getting off topic. I guess I'll read this. You guys got some good questions. BTC network is terrible, but MSTR brings B Brooks into the board is very interesting. Will HBAR be the vehicle to move BTC? No, I just honestly think HBAR and the ISOs are going to do their own thing when they have the utility run, but it hasn't happened yet. All right, let's read this from Kenneth Robinson. Good to see you, brother. Max, how do you feel about storage cryptos? Yeah, absolutely. So Filecoin, I mean, you know, I have a lot of Filecoin. Filecoin, just to give you a heads up, I think I mentioned this before, is one of the few, because I used to be into about 60 different projects, and I've winded that down a little bit where I swapped some for other ones I thought were going to take off. So Filecoin, you know, definitely stands out, IPFS and so on, but you know, Jasmy's right part of that mix as well. So for me, I have expectations for Filecoin. I honestly think it's going to smash previous all-time highs. There's going to be, I guess, content creators going to say otherwise. I get that, but there's too much there. Yes, I don't cover it like in recorded videos and so on. It's just, you know, supply and demand, my time as well. As you guys know, I do 3 jobs 7 days a week. It's hard enough to find time to cover what I cover or do these shows. But Filecoin has always impressed me. It's quality file storage, smart quality, you know, data, if you will, because we talk about Jasmy and you know, Filecoin and some of the other ones you talk about. DAG, I don't hold DAG, nothing against it, but so for me, I do feel as though we're going to see not just previous all-time highs for Filecoin, but even supersede that and then some. So for me, off of Filecoin alone, that I will cash that out, believe it or not. And for that alone, that's like about, you know, $500,000 just off of Filecoin. And there's some other ones that have realistic price expectations. Yeah, there's some things I don't marry. But the one, you know, in my mind already, the ones I won't touch for a long, long time will probably be the ISOs and also things like Jasmy. Because especially Jasmy, you know, the only project in the world, to my knowledge, that has a $17 KPI price target in the white paper. No project mentions things like that. It would bug the living heck out of me to literally, in my opinion, paper hand Jasmy before getting to that. That would bug me. I don't want to become the Bitcoin pizza man, if you will, with the Bitcoin of Japan. How about this? Can we agree on this? Maybe we'll start a new narrative or analogy. I don't want to be, I don't want to paper hand the Bitcoin of Japan, Jasmy. I don't want to become instant ramen, right? When I could become Wagyu beef. All right, you like that? Kind of corny, right? You get what I'm saying. I don't want to become the Bitcoin pizza guy, which I guess that happened in Jacksonville, Florida years ago. All right, so we got to get into the next part of the outline. Otherwise, I'm not going to have enough time because we're at roughly 1 hour and 38. So you guys do have good questions, and I do appreciate that, but we got to get more into some of this. I'll read the last comment, just kind of jumping forward. So again, if you guys have anything specific, nothing against you. Yeah, just off. Yeah, Kenneth, just to give you a heads up, just off of Filecoin. Yes, $500,000. Just off of that. Doesn't count the rest of my portfolio. Just off of that. Okay, that's not too bad, right? I'll definitely not have to do 3 jobs 7 days a week, right? All right. Thank you, Utility Maximus. Me and Jay Claver. Thanks, man. You guys rock. David Watts, you can't buy BSV in BitTrue if you're a. That's a good point. And there's other ways around getting into that. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into the next part of the outline. I'm going to clear out some tabs just to kind of, keep things flowing pretty nice. I don't know if he's watching. Shout out to my friend Barry, who is, let me just put, I don't know if he's watching, but, nonetheless, I do appreciate you, brother. But, I don't, where the heck is my media asset? There we go. So you can follow me at DPG Maximus. He too is a DPG, from our gaming group. And if anything, yeah, shout out to him. I guess as a token of his appreciation for me telling him about XRP and the X's, the ISOs, and the quants, and your Jasmines and whatnot, is he hooked me up with a brand new, way bigger upgrade gaming computer. And I'm looking forward to hooking that bad boy up finally to play some Battlefield 2042 and some of these newer games. So I was not expecting that. Thank you for blessing me with that, if you happen to be watching. All right. So shout out to my friend Barry, who lives in MISSISSI PPI, right? Anyway, Mississippi. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to bookmark some of you guys' comments. I'll read this one. Rockwall. Yeah, absolutely. And then, cold storage for BSV, Trezor, you can't unfortunately do decent. Well, you can, technically speaking, but you would have to make a custom folder. I mean, it's there, but they're not going to automatically recognize it and so on. So, yeah, by all means, guys, smash the like if you haven't done so already. We are at 113 on YouTube, 416 on X, total of 529. You guys rock. And, let's get into it. Let's take a sip off of this real quick. All right. Next part we're going to get into, I meant to close out some tabs, so let me just give a second to do that. Next part we're going to get into is the Overwallet. You guys heard about some of this stuff. So I think it's definitely worth getting into. And, some other people have covered it, but have they really got into the weeds about it? I don't know. I'm going to lean towards no, right? Nothing against some of those guys. But, wasn't it interesting to see some of these things with regards to the patents? Did you guys appreciate the BSV coverage? The BSV XDC quant coverage? Let me know. Maybe you don't like that I included it part of, you don't like BSV in the same breath of, XDC and quant. I get that as well. But nonetheless, I think it's all worth paying attention to. It's good to have an open mind to everything, whether you don't like some of these projects or not, right? So, yeah, just closing out the last tab. All right. So, here we go. So, here's the thing. This is the quant / let's face it, maybe a little bit of XRP coverage of the day. And we're going to talk about the Overwallet. Okay, so last Tuesday, shout out to her brother Sebastian and Channing. They were part of a panel. Sebastian calls it the Three Kings of Crypto. It's every single Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific on X. We talk specifically about QNT. One of the key things that was brought up in the discussion was in regards to the Overwallet. Now, of course, in X format, when we have these spaces, it's kind of like listening to the radio. You can't see the visuals. Well, for this segment that I'm bringing to you guys, has it all. The visuals, the research, the whole shebang. Smash that like if you haven't done so already. Consider sticking to the end of the outline. There will be chapters, watching 2x speed if you choose to do so. Nonetheless, let's get into why the Overwallet matters. Starting off with this right here, you're going to see from the Quant network, believe it or not, of all things, this concept of the Overwallet. So let's get into the nitty gritty of why this matters. So here's the thing. We know that Quant is, of course, blockchain agnostic. ISO TC 307, their own particular standard, being able to orchestrate ISO 222 for the unified ledger, supposedly. We talk about the regulated liability network. We talk about the regulated settlement network. What would settle? Would we settle an XRP? Would we settle an XDC? All these key things. We've seen examples of even things like IOTA, right? Polygon, so many things. Basically any particular blockchain, and we know that Quant said if you don't see it on their list, let them know, and they'll get the job done. All right, so we've been there. We've done that when it comes to the concepts of blockchain agnostic and full interoperability. All right. What about wallet agnostic? What about your MetaMask, your Coinbase wallets, you name it, everything? True interoperability on wallets? What kind of profound value would there be in regards to that? Well, the answer basically is this. It's understanding that if you have a unified ledger, well, would that involve a wallet at some point? Of course. The answer is yes. What about institutional wallets? What about the whole concept of an offline wallet? Right. Let's get into the weeds of why this matters. As we get into this, Overwallet from developers.quant.network, documents, wallets, specifically, what you see on the left, you have, for example, use cases, overview, supply chain, and even lending. But what is specifically the Overwallet? Well, the Overwallet serves as the back end for authorized. How many times do we talk about quant authorized? It's also known as TSR, acting as an intermediary between authorized and both AWS, KMS, and Fireblock's direct custodial wallet. Did we actually say that out loud? Fireblocks? Let me tell you guys something. This doesn't get mentioned enough. For me personally, anything Fireblocks related, that's huge money. That's huge, smart money. Even if I didn't know anything about Quant or this Overwallet or XRP or any of this stuff, to see any mention about the smart money, which in my opinion is things like Fireblocks, sign me up. I want to know more about that. And I think you guys do too. Because direct custodial wallet. Remember how earlier we were talking about things about like BSV and whatnot, and we talked about AWS, KMS? Well, look at that seamless key generation, transaction signing through AWS, KMS, and Fireblocks, while ensuring that private keys remain always securely within the custody with no possibility of extraction. Overwallet provides unified APIs for wallet services, regardless, everybody, of the underlying blockchain network or custody provider. Essentially, Overwallet aims to achieve blockchain interoperability specific for transaction signing by allowing authorized to sign any transactions, native data through a single API. All right, please pay attention to this. Why is this important? For the longest time, I've been telling you guys these concepts. We have gone from theory to speculation to confirmation. I've mentioned this for over a year now, that the reason why QNT will stand out, in my opinion, as being the most expensive token in history is because of APIs. Shout out to people like Greg Lunt from X, other people, Tokenizer. How many times, whether it's myself and all these other guys, maybe some of you guys, have pointed out, yes, this is where the QNT token is used. Absolutely. Are we using a full QNT to sign this? Of course not. It's slivers, just like BTC, for example, there's slivers used, but in reality, think about it. It's like you're not using BTC for cross-border payments. Are you using QNT for cross-border payments? No, you're not using that for cross-border payments. You will settle in things like Ripple XRP, because that would make more sense, would it not? It would make a lot more sense to settle in that compared to ERC20 token. But for a subscription-based model with those APIs, my God, that's the beauty of recognizing QNT and the mechanism of Overledger. But now we enter this thing of the Overwallet. So again, from speculation to confirmation. And that's why I want to put out some highlight on this, because I think a lot of people, they just need to see it. It's in documentation. And I know some people are like, well, this is just from Quant. This is a trust me, bro. Okay, I get that. But that trust me, bro, is a standard. All right. And standards do make a huge difference moving forward. As we get further into this, you will see that, again, API interacts with either AWS, KMS, Fireblocks. It enables authorized to manage multiple keys across various DLT assets on Quant Connect efficiently. Not anything else, but on Quant Connect. That's profound. That's a big deal. Key features of Overwallet, if you're not aware of it. Overwallet was developed with inspiration from Fireblocks. Wow. Direct custodial wallet. How many times do we mention Fireblocks, like, former founders not former founders, former key people from Ripple left and, joined Fireblocks. If anything, end screen card, when I chop it up, you'll see that. So it's this wallet structure, the hierarchical deterministic HD BIP44 is what it's referred to. AWS KMS does not natively support HD wallets, but Overwallet, think about this, is designed to make AWS KMS function as if it does. Holy cow. So this is truly wallet agnostic, if you will. To effectively use Overwallet, it is essential to understand the principles of BIP44 derivation path. When generating a key using Fireblocks, each asset on the mainnet has a unique derivation path. Now, this gets nerdy. I get that. But does it mention anything more in layman's terms that we can understand? The answer is yes. The first value path is the constant M representing the master key. So just remember this little area is the master key. All private keys are derived from the single master key. To put simply, is comparable to the seed phrase when setting up MetaMask on your local machine, where all private keys are derived from that seed phrase. MetaMask is an example of HD wallet. Oh my goodness. So when we talk about, for example, whether it's BSV doing their whole thing of what they're doing when it comes to seed recovery, or whether it's, Hedera, Ripple, Algorand, some of the other key players, Bank Social, and so on, when it comes to the whole idea of what? The direct alliance. Okay, awesome. But what about from the institutional side of that? Holy cow. So when we talk about programmable money, and we talk about the whole idea of Quant being, the foundation for digital finance. Well, if you're talking about wholesale CBDCs, which they're clearly involved in, whether it's the BIS, Bank of England, so on and so forth, or apparently in the future, even digital dollar, people are saying that's not going to happen. Hey, give it time. I think it's going to, not saying I'm rooting for it, but I'm not going to, be on the sidelines when this all happens. Again, these API calls to make it all interoperable, right? Well, what about a wallet for that? Right, institutional wallet was connected to. So now we start to see how this plays out. And without getting too far off into the sidetracked, I should say, I want you guys to see this because, again, MetaMask, right? MetaMask is an example of an HD wallet. So it talks about, for example, how the values come in again, but again, the numbers match up, with these particular blockchains, whether it's Ethereum, Polygon, XDC, Ripple XRP, Solana, even Algorand. But you see how it comes all together. You see how, Quant can have multiple assets on the main net, can efficiently be managed using, the account HD path, and Quant Connect can manage multiple assets seamlessly and effectively. All right. Remember how we talked about Quant and, like maps? Well, here's a different terminology. Mapping Quant's location to Fireblocks. Yes, this is also worth pointing out because this is not speculation anymore, everybody. Plain as day, you see that you do have a legitimate thing going on with Fireblocks. Like, that in itself has to have value moving forward. You might not see it happen overnight, but that definitely will be when everything is done and built and regulations come and mandates. My God, Fireblocks, like, holy cow, right? So Fireblocks simplifies that. We understand that. But Overwallet utilizes the asset and HD account along with Quant's location. Consists of technology and network. Generate key and sign transactions with Fireblocks. Sign transactions. Remember in our examples when we went to Make? I don't know if you guys remember this. So you go to make.com over ledger integration. I'm not going to do it because we've done it so many times. So in those examples that we shared, and maybe I'll also put an end card for you guys can see this later when this is chopped up. But we talk about orchestration. And specifically, I think you guys do remember this. We talked about ISO TC 307 orchestration. Well, again, make.com would be that example. Then you see that it mentions like ISO. Well, ISO 222. All right. And then on the final step, what did it mention, everybody? It mentioned specifically the signing of that transaction. Okay. That was just from little projects. That was just from little things that we were trying to share in regards to the significance of, Quant and, this project, that project that's on Make. Some of those are bigger than others. Some of those are smaller than others. But the key thing is it was there. And now to see this, you can see that that's with Fireblocks. That's way, way bigger of a deal. But the point is the orchestration to see how it's signed. And if it's signed, that means QNT will be used as a subscription-based model. Little slivers of QNT. All right. Last we checked, shout out to our brother, Mine Crypto, Sebastian, and so on. What did they point out recently? How about even Tokenizer? What did he point out recently? They all three mentioned specifically that there's roughly a little over 200,000 QNT left on spot reserves. So when we talk about supply shock, when does that supply shock realistically happen? Does it happen on January 1st? I don't know. I'm leaning more towards a little bit towards March. But when we talk about the ISO 222 mandate, wow. And especially Fireblocks, you know darn well that Fireblocks is going to do something. So to see this with proof in regards to Fireblocks speaks absolute volumes of why aren't most people talking about this? Because again, nothing against them. They don't get into the weeds about that. And that's no knock on anybody else. But this whole narrative that's going to zero, tell that to Fireblocks. Tell that to Fireblocks. And it says plain as day. And all of this information is verifiable. Look into it. As I get further into this, I want to put out some other key things. I want to point out this was already tested. It was on multiple test nets. We've already been there. We've already done that. But what do you also see? Introducing HD accounts, AWS, Amazon Web Services, right? They already have that. Okay. And again, you get a full API documentation list of assets. Okay. Well, can we do that? Can we bring it over there? Yeah. Because if anything, this will help developers just in case they had any problems. How so? By simplifying their blockchain build with Overledger APIs. You can see how it comes all together. Absolutely. Jumping back to this, what about other algorithms supported by AWS, KMS, and Fireblocks? I'm pretty sure we see XRPL right here. I think we also see the whole thing at EVM-based blockchains. So, it doesn't say it on the list as at the moment, but, XRP and Axel already have the whole thing with EVM, but so does things like your Quants of the world. All right. What about Hyperledger Besu? Boom. Do you see that? Quant, Overledger 2.0 already solved that issue. All right. So this is all there. That's the key thing. All right. So to jump further into this, and I know this is, again, a deep dive, but that's what I do. What do you see here? Again, the whole reason why I mention the highlight of Make. What do we see? Create an HD account, but more specifically from who? You have from https://hook.eu to, think about the terminology, hooks. If you study XRP, you know about hooks. What do you see? Make.com. So Make.com has Overledger integration, does it not? Boom. Boil it, mash it, stick in this too. This endpoint creates a new HD account under specified service provider. What service provider? I don't know. Maybe your Fireblocks. I don't know. Maybe your FedNow 24/7 instant payments. Interesting. Yeah, of course. Because when you get further into this, how did this all start? Where did it all start? Shout out to Gilbert Verdin. He literally says at Bank of America back in October 6, 2021. It was a report. A lot of us forgot about some of this stuff. Digital asset primer in brief, only the first inning. CBDCs, when not if. Regulation is here. Corporations aren't risking being left behind, right? Interoperability is a challenge that needs a solution. Quant obviously is that solution. But here's where it gets really interesting. In this special paper, right, you see dating back even before that, 2020. Paolo Tasca's part of it, but bottom part. Quants, let's put this on the other screen for you to see a little bit bigger. Quants approach to the whole thing, okay? So what is that? They propose to have the whole thing of digital currency that will allow for more efficient, transparent clearing and settlement. But look at what it says. It says that it needs to be collateralized by public funds or treasury assets. Quant's proposal at that time was for an architecture that would allow manifestations and be operated by banks or other money services, businesses operating within a framework overseen by government regulators. They argue that now is the time for action to undertake development of such a system. This was the first call to action. We all think in our heads, at least I did, right? I used to think that it was last summer. This was the original call to action. Then you saw things being built. All that time of seeing all the Overledger updates and all the key partnerships and, doing all these projects with Project Hamilton, Roslyn, so on and so forth, right? But it's all there. We argue now is the time to, develop such a system, not only because of the current crisis, but also anticipation of future crises resulting from geopolitical risk, the continued globalization of the digital economy, and the changing risk and changing value, and risk that technology brings. As I take you more into this, I want you to see this. It's a little bit blurry. Again, Quant Papa's cell phone, and he always apologizes. I'm sorry it's blurry, but it's all right. As long as I can read it, you can see it. Does Quant legitimately have something going on that we're not aware of? The answer is yes. Again, back to that Fireblocks example. 2.2, mapping Quant's location to Fireblocks asset. Again, generation of the keys, the whole thing of Quant's location, consistency with technology, whether it is IPv6, but again, generating a key and signing that with Fireblocks, and again, with Quant. So we're talking institutional grade here. We see the underlying technology, whether it's Ethereum, XDC, Avalanche, the test nets, even with layer zeros. People are like, interesting, you mean layer zeros? Yeah, Polkadot, layer zero. From mainnet to testnet. And even at the bottom, just in case you didn't see that part, I'll zoom in. On the bottom part, for the XDC Apothem testnet, Overwallet, if you're not aware of this, everybody, interacts with Fireblocks using a derivation path since Fireblocks does not enable to support the XDC Apothem testnet. So, my God, we're talking about XDC. Guys, how much more incentive do you need to realize how much demand that creates even from an XDC point of view with the plug to, Fireblocks? That create that much more supply and demand for your Quant, right? Absolutely. And we understand that, all of what's going on with Quant, XDC, R3 quarter bridge. That's institutional demand. Any way you want to dice it. But when? I know, guys, I get it. A lot of you guys are impatient. Nothing against you. Some of you aren't. Some of you guys are willing to understand that, it's not getting rich in one day or overnight, but it's there. The research shows that it is there. Go verify it for yourself. I say that politely. As we get to this next part, what about from Fireblocks? What do they legitimately have from, of course, Fireblocks? Well, let's take you over here. Because when you see this, you might not even understand what Fireblocks is really about. I don't get Fireblocks, Fireblocks is nothing burger. They're not a nothing burger. Discover how thousands of companies are building on just that Fireblocks. So if thousands of companies are building on Fireblocks, and we already saw with the Overwallet how Quant plays a key factor of that, whether it's through the RLN or, what we'll settle with, whether it's XDC, XRP, and so on, it's there. So emphasis will be on treasury management. And what do you see here? You see, for example, my God, it mentions Elk Capital. Shout out to Michael Cornwell. Anyway, so I don't know if that's the same Elk. That might be Elk Finance. But UK Vault, OTC Vault, whitelisted wallet, this derivatives vault. So again, emphasis on wallets. So again, how do you say Quant without saying Quant? It doesn't need to say it on Fireblocks, but you did see it from Quant. Interesting. Holy cow. Because if you can enable self-custody with your crypto and streamline it to treasury management operations, well, you can see how that's streamlined, how that's orchestrated from things like the ISO TC307 standard with the Overledger, the OVN, Overledger Network. As Gilbert Verdian mentioned, Overledger Network is so much bigger than just Quant. So B2C2 is the leading crypto liquidity provider that has built an institutional crypto trading platform for OTC desks, aggregators, banks, exchanges, and hedge funds. So think about this, guys. Banks. We already saw from the examples of how Quant plays a key role in this. Secure billions in customer funds with Fireblocks and PC wallets. My God. Think about that. Configures transaction governance with Fireblocks policy engine to protect funds against internal collusion, human error, external attacks, directly transfer to exchanges. on the Fireblocks networks, but you have the Overwallet. So for some people, they're like, well, this is Quant's competition. That's not going to happen. Okay. Then again, can you work with the competition? The answer is yes, you can work with competition. And you're going to have an interoperable wallet agnostic solution where you literally saw in documentation that it's going to do this thing. That has to be worth a heck of a lot of money in my book. And I understand people don't want to agree with it. It's okay. I'm not telling anybody to do anything. Streamline settlement. Think about settlement operations by connecting back and middle office systems with Fireblocks API. Oh, interesting API. And automates transaction authorization workflow to eliminate manual and in-person approvals. All right, let's talk about that for a brief moment. We already studied the whole thing of the Regulated Settlement Network, the RSN. Does that not pound it home when it comes to the whole thing of the RSN? I think the answer is yes, it pounds home the whole thing of the RSN. So there's definitely that. So let's take you over to here. Fireblocks. What do you have in that regard? You have, even on a simple Google search, this. Let's shrink it down just a tad bit so you can see it all on one screen. You have the whole concept of Fireblocks crypto platform, digital asset platform, wallet infrastructure, look at that, treasury, look at that, all on one easy to use platform, 60 plus blockchains, Fireblocks versatile infrastructure, XRPL, etc. And then the next part that you see, if you go further down, Digital Pound Foundation. And I will show you the citation in regards to the Digital Pound Foundation because there's been some updates. Fireblocks was among 14 companies chosen for, the Bank of Israel digital shekel system. I know some of you guys don't want to hear about some of that stuff, but aims for exploration of potential blockchains for digital shekel system, garnering widespread interest from fintech to finance communities. Again, why point this out? Because it brings us to this, again, the whole thing, a quant DLT asset stored in Fireblocks custody of that generated key. Again, we already talked about this, but just in case it went right past your head. Overwallet utilizes this asset ID and HT account ID along with Quant's location. That's utility in motion. That's institutional grade utility put in motion. All right. What about the whole thing, obviously, about Digital Pound Foundation? It's been a while, right? Of course. According to the Digital Pound Foundation, companies chosen for the Bank of Israel's Digital Shekel CBDC Challenge, dating back to July 24th, 2024, was that the Bank of Israel announced the initiation of Digital Shekel, and it's inspired by Project Rosalind, joint project by the Bank of England and the BIS. The challenge aims to explore potential blockchain applications for a digital shekel system, garnering widespread interest from the fintech and finance communities, both within Israel and also internationally. This has all come together. But how so? API functionality. Okay. Is that it? No, not quite. Why is this important? Because even on a basic search, what do you have here? Remember how I mentioned Ripple and Fireblocks back in the day? Ripple and Fireblocks, everybody, are both companies that offer digital asset custody solutions. Ripple is known for XRP, as we know, and Ripple Payment Solutions, while Fireblocks is a secure digital asset infrastructure company. So, do they have token support? They do. Well, what else? Well, look at this for a second. This gets, in my opinion, like really, really, really good. Because dating back to 2021, we knew that Ripple executive departed to join crypto platform with former SEC chairman Jay Clayton, right? And we're not fans of that guy. But again, as an advisor, again, back to the whole thing of Fireblocks. So just to give you guys a heads up, I wasn't just stating that because that was a real thing back then. That's interesting. All right. What else do we have in regards to Quant? Well, Overwallet provides unified APIs for wallet services. Again, nice screenshot from Quant Papa. Let me shrink that down just a tad bit. So, unified APIs for wallet services, regardless of the underlying blockchain network. So again, that sounds like it's blockchain agnostic, or the whole thing of wallet agnostic. So it doesn't matter if it's blockchain network or custody provider. Overall aims to achieve blockchain interoperability specific for transaction signing, again, allowing authorized to sign transactions. We didn't fully understand Quant Authorize. I think if anything, now we do. And then here's some of the Overledger beta APIs, connectors, Hyperledger Fabric, connector, Solana, connect tours, combine calls, the Overwallet, it says it right there. And do we even have XRPL? Yeah, we do. And interesting, it's called Faucet. We talk about, on-demand liquidity. Some of you guys know about this. If you go to xrpl.org, what do you have here? XRP faucets. These parallel XRP ledger test networks, because again, we just showed all these test networks with Fireblocks, right? They provide platforms for testing changes to XRP ledger software built in without using real funds. I mean, how many times you see EVM sidechains and that interoperability solution for even XRP with Axelar? These funds are intended for testing only, but they showed how it all worked. So again, different form of orchestration, but that's there even with XRP. All right, before we wrap this up, I want you guys to see just a few more things. Because when we talk about all of this, how do we see the orchestration of the institutional side of this? Well, this is from Settle, but keep in mind, on December 3rd of this month, there was a demonstration that happened. It was Settle's Ledger Swarm RLN, Regulated Liability Framework, that can bring privacy, scalability, and programmability to Drex Digital Real Project. Now, I'm not saying Drex with Quant, but this is an example of how can even things like Quant bring that orchestration. How can it bring the whole thing to the RLN? Watch this. This will give you the answers that you've been looking for. I will play the whole thing because it's worth playing the whole thing. Smash the like if you haven't done so already. Watch this. Pay attention. If you understand this, you already understand how big the future is going to be. Here we go.
In this demonstration, we will show how Settle's Ledger Swarm framework integrates with the Drex platform to provide privacy, scalability, and programmability. We will demonstrate a CDB smart contract, which will allow the issuer to issue a certificate of deposit, transfer that certificate between owners, pay a coupon, and redeem a certificate of deposit. All these operations are demonstrated across multiple private Drex ledgers, settling each transaction in an atomic wrapper. First, let's look at the architecture of Ledger Swarm. Ledger Swarm has three primary layers. The ledger layer is declared. The business layer is where participants can interact in complex ways. Ledger Swarm offers a cross-ledger smart contract framework. It is this layer where we have implemented with their own smart contracts deployed to maintain their own token balances. You can see that Drex Bank 1 and Drex Bank 2 both have accounts at Drex Central for Brazilian Real. The balances shown on this screen are a direct reflection of the balances held in the corresponding tokenizado contracts on each Bisu blockchain. Let's look at Alice's balance here. And on the Drex Bisu blockchain, let's do a transfer from Alice at Drex Bank 1 to Bob at Drex Bank 2 to show you how that works. Every transaction on Ledger Swarm starts as a proposal. You will notice that the proposal contains only the originating and destination accounts. An account is identified by a domain, a participant, and an account identifier. When this proposal is put to Ledger Swarm, it will query the sending and receiving banks to discover where each of them settles the instrument being transacted. It does issued by Drex Bank One. Here we can see that Drex Bank One has an inventory of 100,000 of a CDB, which expires on 2nd October 2026 and has a coupon of 13.25%. This balance is recorded on a tokenizado contract. From this balance, we are going to issue 1,000 to Alice, who will pay face value for that certificate. Alice will then sell 400 of her CDB holding to Bob at Drex Bank 2 and 100 to Charlie at Drex Bank 2. Each of these will be done as an atomic DVP transaction. We will then pay a coupon on the CDB and will observe how the payment to Alice, Bob, and Charlie are settled across the different ledgers. Finally, we will redeem the certificate of deposit and show how the redemption value is paid and all of the holdings are redeemed back to the treasury account at Drex Bank One. To do this, we will set up a Ledger Swarm CDB Registrar smart contract. This contract keeps track of where all the holdings are, executes corporate events, orchestrates transfers between holders, and manages the redemption of the certificate of deposit. To launch the contract, we give it some basic information about the certificate of deposit and point it at the tokenizado contract at Drex Bank One. We also assign a party to be the registrar. In this case, we choose Drex Bank One, but it could equally be a third party acting as the registrar. With all these details, we create a new instance of account and a price at which the certificate is sold to the new owner. Let's look at how the ledgers reflect this transaction. You can see that certificates are central, following the settlement path that we previously examined. We will do one more transfer, this time to Charlie at Drex Bank 2. Looking again at the ledgers, you can see that Drex Bank 1 records the total amount held by Drex Bank 2 and Drex Bank 2 records the beneficial ownership split between Bob and Charlie. Now let's pay a coupon. Because the registrar contract is keeping track of the holders and which ledgers they are on, it can create the right set of payments from the issuer to the holders. Ledger Swarm will take care of the settlement of those payments, no matter how complex. So let's make a payment of 13.25% by calling the pay coupon function. Again, looking at the ledgers, we can see that payment to Alice is within the Drex Bank 1 ledger, but payment to Bob and Charlie is across Drex Central. Each payment is in proportion to the amount held by Alice, Bob, and Charlie. Finally, let's look at redemption. For this, we will call the redeem certificate function of the smart contract. And again, let's look at the ledger. We can see that the certificate face value
Okay, great visual example. I wasn't able to share that on the X Space, so that was it's nice to bring to you guys. I'm going to wrap this up here shortly. I want to take you over to Citibank. It's in regards to real-time treasury evolution. This is page 1 of 8. This is a nice key finding with the research. So we know about Citi and Quant, and what you see here from the document shows with evidence. Treasury, like it says, again, from Citi, not my words, theirs. Treasury is the true unsung hero of any business. You don't have to take their word for it. Just ask any treasurer. Humility aside, chief financial officers and treasurers agree that the real value of Treasury lies in the function's ability to fund the business and manage financial risk so as to support revenue, optimization costs, manage working capital, etc., etc. But how do you improve the results? Well, I love this statement. They put an emphasis on programming interfaces and specifically API through DLT orchestration, by the way, revolutionizing treasury processes, and to be successful, pivotal for treasurers to focus on their data and digital strategy, extending their thinking beyond shoring up the basics of all of it. Full-fledged modernization. Now, just in case you're like, well, there's a lot of events that happen, Max, like you just mentioned Citi. Gilbert Verdi, there's no way he was there. Are you sure about that? Because guess what? Boil it, mash it, stick it in stew. What do you see there? Gilbert Verdian right there at the event, front row center with Citi, talking about everything we just mentioned. And to also put just that much more icing on the cake, what do you also see from Citi perspectives? They mentioned specifically real-time treasury, which is called RTT, don't forget that key term, is the concept of adopting instant payments and real-time information delivered via APIs, as well as enabling real-time liquidity management that accelerates the velocity of existing treasury processes. We also know that APIs enable real-time liquidity management that accelerates the velocity of existing treasury processes. All right, this gets really, really good. From the screenshot, on a particular document, which I don't know if it's really shared to the public, but whatever the case be, thank you to the person that provided me the screenshot. You see here, Quant, real-time tokenization. And what does it say? Again, boil it, mash it, stick it in stew. Quant RTT is powered by DLT-based smart contracts and APIs that can add programmability to fiat money through tokenization. Invented during our work on the UK's retail CBDC in Project Rosalind, this functionality executes on the shared ledger, that's what we talked about earlier, enabling the rapid creation of payment instruments and network-wide logic. And what do you see? Does Quant have anything to RTT? Yes, you do. Yes, they do. Quant RTT, Quant Programmable Payment Suite. You see how it orchestrated with the overledger layer to open banking. And to zoom in more, what do you have? You have the simplicity of it, of automated payments and savings. You have two parties. You have automated payments, corporate treasury management. You have three-party payment versus delivery. Remember how the RLN was putting an emphasis on that with some of those interviews a few months ago? Do you have, escrow with it? Yes, you do. Do you have FX swaps? Yes, you do. Do you have asset management? Do you have corporate actions? Do you even have IoT? And yes, you do. Remember we were talking about ISO, IEEE and the whole thing, ISO 27001. There's like Jasmine with that. There's IOTA with that. So all of that is also verifiable and also there. And why? Because it's the focus on the regulated liability network, distributed ledger technologies, and RTT APIs delivering a compelling advantage like it says. And to top it off, just in case you weren't aware of this, here is a video. This will be the last one to wrap it up, and then I'll give you a little visual to confirm it all. Citi's Real-Time Treasury Innovation Expo 2024. This dated back to last summer. Citi Services hosted first of its kind Real-Time Treasury Innovation Expo in 2024, July, at the Citi London headquarters. As we know, Quant in the UK, clients, fintech, partners, bringing the whole thing a real-time treasury ecosystem. Listen to this. How do you say Quant without saying Quant? Think about it. So let's actually refresh this for a second. Don't tell me I just lost this. All right, here we go. Yeah, I just need a refresh. I'm going to play this, and we'll wrap it up. Here we go.
We've hosted a real-time treasury event today. This is our Innovation Expo, and we've also hosted a client think tank.
Today we've had a broad range of industry partners and our clients come to Citi, talking to a lot of our clients and just priming ourselves to understand what the needs of treasurers are on a global perspective.
And it was really, really fun and exciting to see everybody come together in the same place, meet everybody. And now we have this wonderful event where we're also talking and engaging with customers and learning about their needs and their pains in a face-to-face conversation.
Given it's all about network effect, events like this helps us to connect to the people who are in the space where those participants can join and leverage the technology that we have built.
For real-time treasury to take hold, it's going to take the entire ecosystem to continue to evolve along the direction it's going.
Being able to partner with Citi and co-create technological innovations with them means that you can really have a positive impact across multiple different markets, industries, and jurisdictions.
Citi has the best global payments infrastructure in the world, and we let them focus on what they do really well, and then we bring our superpowers to the table and complement them in a way that best serves both of our customers.
It's been a fantastic day. We've had great, really rich insights from our clients, from our Citi colleagues as well, and the dialogue has been really rich, talking about what real-time treasury means for our clients and what the future of treasury looks like.
It's been exactly what we wanted it to be, where we had our clients giving us a tremendous amount of input, exchanging ideas with themselves and with us.
Okay, glad to share that with you guys. Here's the last final one, and here's the emphasis. So earlier, I shared that particular video clip of Ledger Swarm. You saw a blank area, or that area where some people say, well, yeah, it's Ledger Swarm. Okay, I hear you. But I want you to see this, because if that area was left blank, now watch this. In this screenshot, shout out to Quant Papa for it. I'm going to blow it up a little bit more, because we talk about orchestration layers and all those key things. You see right here, once again, boil it, mash it, stick it in stew. Orchestration, state, and reference data. Boom, Quant. Quant RTT, open banking interface. RCBDC API client. Real-time gross settlement API client. And how it's all orchestrated. A little bit blurry, but nonetheless, you see it plain as day. So as the saying goes, know what you have, know why you hold it. The research trumps FUD 110%, but if anything, I'm still fully convinced QNT will be the most expensive token in history. For one, blockchain agnostic, and now this whole thing of wallet agnostic, the connections to Fireblocks, where does it end? Is it just going to be only Fireblocks? I think the answer is no. I think they got so much more to it than just that. Obviously, this concept of the Finternet that we covered earlier, you want to take a look into that particular video as well once it gets chopped up. But my key thing is this, just recognizing all this. So simply do me a favor, if you listen to the entire outline and type in this keyword into the comments, and that is LS, as in Ledger Swarm, and I'll know that you listened to the entire outline. I really appreciate you guys listening to these outlines. If anything, I'm always rooting for you, praying for you guys, and I really mean that. So I'm going to wrap up the show here in a moment. I'm just going to recognize some key questions or comments you guys have. We'll play the outro, and then we'll, again, wrap it up here shortly. So next comment I'm going to get into, if you guys have any specific questions, is seeing what you guys have. You guys rock, by the way. I haven't done a show in about a week, but I've done, recording and so on. But we have 565 on the live. Not too shabby. 477 on X. Earlier we had a little over 100 on YouTube, which was cool. So very cool. Texas Dalton, I'd like to welcome you. Glad to have you here. Glad that you do have a plan. You always want to have a clan. Clan and a plan. Anyway, Wu-Tang Clan, I guess you could say. Anyway. All right, Will Anderson says that he will most likely hold his QNT through this cycle and see what happens next cycle. Awesome. Glad to hear it. We also have some other statements. Mel Sinclair, welcome. He says all ISO 222 are the structured integrity that culminated together with holding the entire financial structure together. Who is the main structural support component? Everything has a structural value. I would agree with that. All right, let's go further down to some other key comments. That's weird if your screen was black. I want to refresh. And you've been studying hard. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I was a former school teacher. I do subbing once in a while. So, but nonetheless, it's just in my DNA to teach. My mom used to teach as well. All right, let's see here. Let's go further down. Will Anderson, will be a smart move to have capital gains on U.S. cryptos so global funds flow into them. Government will take money off of the transactions. Good point. All right. I'm going to be wrapping things up here shortly. John Follett, let's welcome you. OG Crypto is in the house. Second. Good to see you, brother OG. This is a great statement. Yeah, we're all trying to, help people, and that's good to recognize it in that perspective. Yeah, have a good one. The XRP of some young guy, right? The on-demand liquidity. That sounds so bad. All right, I get where you're going with it. Hey, there's our brother Elon Muff, Michael Cornwell in the house. And let's read this from Trish. Wants everyone to do well, but they shouldn't have to invest in anything to have enough. Everyone deserves enough at stage. Okay, I hear you on that. Sharing your perspective. And yeah, Mike Cornwell's doing very well. If you want to learn about some of the projects that he's into, you can message him over on X. He can be followed at Muff_Elon. And, part of a community. I think he's doing really, very well. And a project called Sad Boy. He was talked to me on the phone and he was just ecstatic. So shout out to you, brother, rooting for you. I know we don't cover a lot of meme coins and so on, but some of you guys are into that. So, reach out to Mike and see what he's talking about and see how well the project is doing. I don't hold it or anything like that, but nonetheless, a lot of you guys are into those type of things. So yeah, and he's a whale into that. So Mike's a good member of a community. Get with him if you're looking to get into some of those particular things. All right, let's see. Let's go further down. Trish says, oh, she's talking about Michael Cornwell. Hey, brother Vibra in the house. Good to see you, Adam. Always appreciate you, man. We're going to have to do some more collaborations in the future. I'm still trying to learn about the now money. My friend had a lot of, real life, not trying to make excuses, but, real life distractions and so on. Not in a bad way, but, Anyway, we all get busy. All right, let's see if you guys have anything else. If not, we'll go from there. Yeah, you saw Gilbert Verdin. Yeah, and you also saw him on the video, so it's not just a screenshot, which is very, very cool. Max, what's your thoughts, please, on Caspa? Any update? I don't have any updates on Stellar or Caspa at the moment. I'm still mining Caspa. I'm still in it for the long haul. I did give my thoughts on Caspa earlier. I will do some Stellar coverage later this week. There's only so much time in one day. I don't want to make this WrestleMania. It's kind of becoming that. So, yeah, you guys are very welcome. Thank you for listening to the outline. If anything, if you really want to be supportive, watch the chopped up version and recorded. It helps benefit the channel. This channel is scaling up. And John Follett, you have good statements. All right. Yeah, thank you so much, Trey. Appreciate that. Mike Cornwall, that's a funny statement. Thank you for that. Good to have you guys gracing presence. Nova, I appreciate great research, he says. Thank you so much. Terror Tree, thank you guys. You guys rock. Totally stumbled across looking for an XDC. So you're looking for an XDC wallet, use my link in the description. It helps me and the channel. Decent Wallet has the biggest discount right now. Just to give you guys a heads up, I don't do this too often. You guys know me. I really don't. I want to share with you. There's some more discounts going on. It's a Christmas special. And again, it helps the channel, helps me. It helps you too. Because it's more of a discount compared to what it normally is. Okay, so I'm going to share this with you guys. Just kind of want you guys to see what I'm talking about. So let's go further into it. So we'll do the 1x. So if you go into the description on this live, or you watch a recorded video, or whatever the case be, I want to pull this up for you. So they have a Christmas special going on as we speak. And basically, it's the biometric wallet. This is for the single one. As you can see, it's even that much more discounted compared to it was. And so, yeah, the link is in the description. This is for one. This is now down to $89. That's not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Very easy to use. And for XDC, you don't have to worry about the whole thing of a custom folder like you do with the Ledger. You can use this particular one. And as a saying, somebody asked, they're like, what happens if I lose my thumb? Even if you lose your thumb, you're still going to be able to recover your assets, right? So it's got the biometric function. You can use an app built into your phone that will allow you to track everything, you know, in your portfolio. It's very easy. There's also this right here. I want to jump into this for a second, which is the 2X. As the saying goes, the more you buy, the more of a discount you get. So on this one, you know, say you and, you know, your significant other, wifey, you can get 2 of these and it brings it to $169. Pretty nice holiday special going on as we speak, which is really, really cool. And then the other one is, of course, the whole thing of the all-in-one card wallet plus backup. Let me pull up that one for you guys real quick. It's just a convenient thing. So this one, yeah, I believe that one might not be discounted. I can't remember, but nonetheless, I mean, more discounted from, you know, the Christmas special, but nonetheless, the all-in-one wallet plus backup card package. Again, all that, again, helps you, helps me, helps the channel. One last one, actually, I want to share with you guys. I don't normally do this one. I don't think I've ever done this one. So you guys were talking about where to get XDC at. You can get it at Uphold, okay? Use my link in the description. The main thing for this is because, believe it or not, if you deposit and trade $100 or more on Uphold, we both get 20. So I get 20, you get 20, helps me, helps you. So, and you can get XDC in America. How cool is that? You don't have to jump through the hoops. You know, I originally got my XDC on KuCoin, but you know what happened with KuCoin. So that's the main thing. It's real simple. Check it out if you choose to do so. And that's going to wrap it up, everybody. So I really appreciate you guys. You know, I can't believe I haven't seen you in a while, Mr. Shaggins. I remember you, man. Good to see you. But yeah, as the saying goes, you know what you have, know why you hold it. The research does trump FUD 110%. Now, this is financial advice, but I'm rooting for you guys. We'll try to do a show later in the week. I'm trying to get back to doing live shows, hopefully a minimum of twice a week. I know you guys used to have it every day. Can't do that. 3 jobs, 7 days a week does not allow me to do that. There will be recorded content. My goal, just to give you guys a heads up, is going to be 2 to 3 videos every day. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what the new schedule is going to be. I'm looking forward to collaborating with our other fellow brothers that are in part of this community, whether it's Adam of Viber Finance. Give that brother a follow. Rue Black, Underdog, their Underdog Research Channel. Crypto Future 99, who's Rob. There's going to be another guy you've never seen before on this channel, who is, you know, Darius Magruder. He's got his own particular channel, which is Learn and Evolve. But whatever the case be, looking to do some collaborations. Who knows? Maybe I'll do one with Wade Teamer. That'd be cool. He pops in here once in a while. Shout out to Wade. So you guys very welcome. Glad to have you. Yes, absolutely. So Barry, thank you guys. You guys all rock, and we'll see you on the next one. It's in the description, OG. So just zoom out. You'll see it in the little description area. So, and they're always on the chopped up videos as well. So you guys, yeah, you're very welcome. Have a great night. We'll play the outro, and yeah, you guys will see these videos chopped up a little bit later. So thanks again, everybody. Y'all have a great night. We'll see you on the next one.
Standing on the corner spot, just driving some of the hottest cars New York has ever seen. From dropping some of the hottest voices rappers ever heard. From the ghost spot with the smoke, fleeing the murder scene, you know me well. From nightmares of a lonely cell, my only hell. But since when y'all brothers know me to fail, heck no, we're all my brothers with the rubber grips for shots. And if you're with me, mama, rub on your tits and whatnot. I'm from the school of the hard knocks, you must not. Instead of treated, we get tricked. Instead of kisses, we get kicked. It's the hard knock life.
The greatness comes not when things go always good for you, but the greatness comes and you're really tested when you take some knocks, some disappointments, when sadness comes. Because only if you've been in the deepest valley can you ever know how magnificent it is to be on the highest mountain.